Evening, folks, and a hearty welcome to our drive-in theater. We have a wonderful evening's entertainment lined up for you, one that will provide several hours of pleasurable relaxation and diversion for you and your family. Did you fail to dress up for tonight's show? No tie, an old shirt and slacks, a house dress? Well, don't give it a thought. We're glad you came as you are. We just want you to enjoy yourselves. Don't forget to visit our refreshment center during the intermission or any time. You love the tasty array of snacks we have to offer. So will the youngsters. Everything is quality and so good. We hope you'll make this a weekly visit. Bring the family. Bring your friends. There are always wonderful new pictures to see, delightful snacks to nibble, a gay, pleasant evening for all. Oh, a word of caution. Don't drive over 10 miles an hour in the theater area for your safety's sake. And Mom or Pop, go with the kids when they leave the car. We hope you have a wonderful time. Come back soon. Wouldn't some hot buttered popcorn hit the spot right now? Extra fluffy, extra big kernels of it pop to perfection. Then drenched with the golden goodness of pure sweet creamery butter. Can't you just taste it? We heat the container extra high, but you better buy 2 more for the rest of the family. Piping hot, golden buttered popcorn at the refreshment center right now.
With the swiftness of a deadly cosmic ray, the Earth is invaded by indestructible moon monsters. Their ghastly mission, death for all humans. What astounding technical developments are being made to protect mankind? Robot Monster brings you an actual preview of the devastating forces of our future. Unsuspected revelations of incredible horrors that will terrify you with their brutal reality.
There is no escape from me. Very well. I will recalculate. Your death will be indescribable. Fool humans, there is no escape.
Hey, kids, how would you like to hear this on the screen instead of the great show you came to see? That's what you sound like. Honest. Please cooperate and do your part in keeping this theater quiet so everyone, including you, can enjoy it. Now, remember, lots of adults and kids, too, paid admission to enjoy the show. We must insist on absolute quiet. Otherwise, we will be forced to evict all disturbance makers from the theater. Those asked to leave today will be refused admission to this theater in the future. Thank you.
Okay, now can you hear me? Okay, let's see if that's working. It's saying you should be able to hear me. So let's see. Can you? Fortune. Now you can hear me. Okay, hooray! Gee, I've only been doing this for what, 2 years now? You think I get it figured out eventually? Hello, everybody, and welcome finally to our monthly live stream. Hooray! Eventually figured it out. So, how y'all doing up there? Yeah, we had to go from silent to talkies, alas. Bound to happen sooner or later, I suppose. So, how y'all doing out there in Monster Kidland, as it were? Not too much has been going on here. Nothing really to unbox this time around either. So, I mean, I showed off my Great Falls haul there on. I did a video for that one, so that was a big thing, and I think that kind of purged me of needing to feel like I need to like buy a lot more stuff. Um, so haven't really been actively hunting much. Did buy a secondhand She-Ra figure for my He-Man Masterverse collection. What else did I don't know if I showed this one off or not. Um, but I did pick up a Sala figure from the Indiana Jones line, who literally, as soon as I get a new setup here, he's just going to be like this the entire time on the shelf, because the mummy's going to be coming at him. So he's just there to be a decoration for the mummy to attack. I may have indirectly impacted your friend group in a large way. Oh, what did I do? Martin asks, have I gotten any flack for using AI art on my thumbnail? No, because nobody cares about what I do. So I have not gotten any flack, and I don't care if I do. Um, I am I'm an artist myself. Not any great shakes, but I have gotten paid for doing illustration work and stuff like that. I'm a trained scientific illustrator. Um, and I just see AI as a tool. It's just a tool. There are lots of other tools out there. This happens to be one of them. Um, if it was like replacing actual like paid artists getting commissions, like if you're seeing AI art show up in like books and stuff like that, I think that's depriving actual artists of work. But as far as like doing a thumbnail for my crappy live streams, no, it's fine. Whatever. It's a tool. It's fine. I will fight anyone on that. My favorite silent film? The Lost World, I guess, would have to be. So, 1925 Lost World classic. That video is coming eventually, sometime this year. I've written it. I just haven't actually recorded it yet. Otherwise, other favorite silent films, Nosferatu would be my second favorite one. There's Vampire, which is a weird one because like the first time I saw it was its silent version, but it was made in 31. So it's one of those movies where they did a silent version and a sound version, and just whichever one you happen to see. So first time I ever saw it was as a silent film, but it is technically a sound movie. So yeah. Thief of Baghdad is another really good silent film. Hunchback of Notre Dame, of course. Phantom of the Opera. So those are sort of my top favorite ones. Let's see. Rex got his vocal cord surgery, so can finally talk to people. Hosting an Oscar party, nice, nice. I'm totally not tapped into what's going on with the Oscars, and I do not have, obviously, because we're doing the live stream this week. I do not have an Oscar live stream planned like I did last year either. So, you're gonna be fine for your Oscar party. You don't have to compete with me. Nothing Beats Metropolis is excellent, a little long, but excellent movie, of course. Indiana Jones Meets the Mummy would be cool, yeah. But in the meantime, I got Sala there as a prop. I also wanted to get the guy from Indiana Jones: The Last Crusade, the dude with the suit and the fez. I wanted to get him, but I did not want to pay like $40 for these things, which were just going to be like props anyways. So, alas, Sala is on sale at Toys R Us in Canada, but that guy, the dude with the fez, is long gone, so wasn't able to get him. Um, AI is a tool. I'm in. Any figures of Maria the Robotrix? No, I don't have a Maria figure. That is sort of like on my broader wish list for like NECA to get around to making her. I'm sure they will someday. Like it's a high profile enough character. If they did like Professor Burke and Nosferatu, they're bound to do Maria at some point. It's a matter of when. Oh, World's a good choice. Thank you. Vampires a fascinating film. Yes. I'm gonna have to video on it someday. But I love Vampire. It's like my favorite horror movie, like and I like of all. I haven't done a video yet, but yeah, Vampire is an incredible movie. Favorite silent comedy? Mine is The Tramp with Charlie Chaplin because I live near where it's filmed. I would say probably Seven Chances, Buster Keaton. I have never laughed so hard in my life as the finale of Seven Chances, the big chase scene. Oh my god. So I would have to go with Seven Chances for favorite silent comedy. Whenever I talk about history, they all think of the Dreyfus Affair, because I talked about it for a few weeks. So one, I learned about the Dreyfus Affair from you too, and now everyone knows me as the Dreyfus Affair kid. That's all they call me. Nice. Well, if you have to have a thing, I guess the Dreyfus Affair is a suitably obscure one to make your name with. I refer to AI as the counting horse of the 21st century in my futurism studies and writings. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I understand people's antipathy towards it, but it's just a tool. And right now we're all like sort of caught up in the novelty of the tool itself. The real test will be what can people actually do with it, um, in terms of like making movies, making art, making imagery. Um, as I have found, even just trying to do the thumbnail for this live stream, that just putting in some words doesn't get what you want either. So it's a tool you have to work at it, figure it out, and figure out how it works in order to get it to do what you want it to do. Um, yeah, I mean, as I said, it's a tool. It's a tool. We'll see what people do with it. Um, if it can, make art or the production of art to an extent, um, more democratic. So, like, if somebody sitting in their basement could use AI to make a movie, make their Universal Monsters House of the Wolfman movie using AI, then great. It's a democratic tool for the creation of art. Even if right now in this nascent stage, it's just sort of like copying existing images by real artists and cobbling together these just sort of weird looking YouTube thumbnails. But whatever. I'm not scared of it. Probably because I don't make a living doing art. So it's like, all right, whatever. Let's see. Where do we go here? Die Nibelungen is a silent fantasy. Yes, I have Die Nibelungen. Not only do I have Die Nibelungen, the movie, I also have the script by the Wagner's operetta. I have the book. Have read it, of course. And I have P. Craig Russell's graphic novel adaptation of the Wagner operetta. So I like Die Nibelungen. And in fact, okay, so um, my wife, the bride of Monster Kid here, has been doing genealogy work on our families. And we found this one resource, which is a great resource, the Family Search, which is actually run by the Mormons, because they're big on genealogy because in their beliefs you can baptize the dead and pray for the dead and all sorts of stuff. So they're big on genealogy, and so they have this like user generated content family genealogy site that it was one of the tools we've been using along with like Ancestry and stuff like that. And what's hilarious is that because Family Search is user-generated content, you just get what other people have written and you connect with it and you create this massive web of information. And someone in my family background, they wrote in Siegfried. So they actually included like legendary material into my genealogy. So I am, in a roundabout way, apparently related to Siegfried, which is listed in the genealogy as a fictional character. So to be fair, um, so there's a direct connection to Nibelungen. I'm related to Siegfried. They also pegged me as being related to both Joseph of Arimathea and Mary and Joseph. Yes, that Mary and Joseph, which is hilarious because once I saw that pop up, I knew exactly where it was going to go, and I kept clicking back and back and back and back and back till I got all the way to Adam and Eve. So I traced my genealogy all the way back to Adam and Eve. Again, it's like where I find that interesting, not because I believe that's my genealogy, but because it's that intersection where my actual family history starts to overlap with mythology and legend and things like that, which is very interesting. So, but anyways, yes, Die Nibelungen, of course, and Fritz Lang. So amazing films, anyways, and yeah, and actually, I like both parts. Most people are like they kind of dump on part two, Grimhild's Revenge. I actually like them both. I think they're both great, but I can see why other people wouldn't like Grimhild's Revenge because it's not like the big fantasy epic like Siegfried was. It's like this rather messy revenge story. So, um, with depending on like how it depicts Huns, it's gonna be a bit offensive if you're a Hun, I guess. Um, yeah, Die Nibelungen is also great. Yeah, thanks for reminding me of that one. Safety Lost to Harold Lloyd. Yeah, watch Flow, The Brutalist, and maybe Wicked. Everything else is kind of mixed. Yeah, I've not seen any movies. Uh, what movies did I even see last year? Um, did Godzilla X Kong come out last year or the year before? I don't even remember. Um, Dune Part 2, again with Zendaya being Marge Simpson. It was a good movie other than Zendaya. Um, yeah, that's the only ones I even remember from last year, if they even came out last year. Love Dr. Caligari. Yeah. Harold Lloyd was a regular stuntman, so was a comedian. Yeah. The only thing I cared about the Oscars was when Godzilla Minus One won Best Special Effects. Yeah, it's too bad it didn't win Best Sound Editing, because as I have said before, and will say again, um, Best Sound Editing is the de facto Best Genre Movie category. If you look at what's won Best Sound Editing, it's crazy. It's like the who's who and what's what of science fiction, horror, fantasy, and war movies. Best Sound Editing is the category to look for in the Oscars. London After Midnight has never been restored. It's never been found. It's a lost movie. There is a version of it that's been reconstructed from still photos, like the publicity stills and stuff like that. But yeah, it itself is lost. But I have said before, and I will say again, that if London After Midnight was found, we'd probably be like, oh, okay, it was all right. Like it probably. I mean, there's no way it could live up to the hype. Um, but we have a version of it. Mark of the Vampire with Lionel Barrymore and Bela Lugosi is London After Midnight. It's the same story. So if you want to see a version of it, then Mark of the Vampire is where you go. I go back and forth on Dr. Caligari. It's a cool idea, but has nothing to do with the silent movie. Do you think Godzilla Minus One should get a sequel? You know, I don't think it needs one. I think it's fine on its own, just like Shin Godzilla, like Shin Gojira. It could have a sequel. Godzilla could wake up and all the little Godzilla-lings pop off his tail and start creating havoc, and then Godzilla evolves into like this cosmic giant naked woman, as per Hideaki Anno. It could have a sequel, but does it need one? Not really. Same with Godzilla Minus One. I think it's fine as a standalone movie. I think if you did a sequel and you did introduce other monsters and start monster fighting, I think you would just kind of get this replay of the Showa era, where you have this like one really profound, super serious first movie, and then like craziness in the remaining movies. And I like the Showa era. I'm a Showa guy. But I mean, the rest of Showa era is not the original Godzilla. So I think it's that. I think I would almost prefer if Yamazaki, because he's slated to do another Godzilla movie, if it was completely different, like not a sequel to -1, just a completely different movie, just by him, I think would be interesting. Props more interesting than a sequel. But we'll see where if they do a sequel, we'll see where it goes. I mean, you've got the girl has like the cancer, like the G cell cancer thing going on. So we'll see where they go with that, what they might do. I hope it's something more original than just whoa Monster Brawl. Oh, here's Anguirus. Like you can't have like a reboot of anything without people going, no, it should be exactly the same thing of the original. Where's Khan in the new Star Trek movies? Oh, okay, sure. I did hear about Gene Hackman. Yeah, that's something. I wonder if it was like carbon monoxide poisoning or something like that. Like their furnace kicked out or whatever, and that's how they passed away. Because like that's what weird thing to recall, but like that's what happened with Weird Al Yankovic's parents, is that like it was a carbon monoxide seep in their house and killed them all in it. So, um, what do you think of King Kong 76 getting an Oscar? Did it get an Oscar? I didn't know. Did it? I like paid almost no attention to King Kong 76. We have to leave for dinner. I'll come back soon. Okay, Rex. Enjoy your Triceratops steak or whatever. Did you ever see House of the Wolfman? I was joking about that. I don't know. I was thinking just like, if somebody wanted to use like AI to make a movie with Boris Karloff as the monster and Bela Lugosi as Dracula, House of the Wolfman would be the next obvious one. Series made by the same director as Metropolis. Yep, Fritz Lang. Good evening, Abrera Oswald. Welcome. Siegfried has an outstanding dragon in one sequence. It's a full-size animatronic, correct? Yep. X-Kong was last year, I think, because -1 was 2023. Okay. Yeah, then I think the only movies I saw last year were Dune Part 2 and Godzilla X Kong. I got a huge positive response from sharing your last Disney movie essay on X and Facebook. A lot of people agree. Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing that. Yeah, I got on a Disney kick. I mean, as you all know, if you've been watching my channel for any length of time, I get on kicks, and you'll see like this series of videos on kind of the same topics pop up, whether that's like Universal Monsters or Epic Universe in particular, or in this case, Disney. So I was on a Disney kick recently, and that's where those two came from. And we'll do as we always do. We'll do the previews at the end of the live stream, so you'll see what video I'm working on right now. But I am also my plan is to do a Snow White one for when the end of March, for when the live action one comes out. David Lynch's Dune versus Villeneuve's Dune. Who wins? Villeneuve. Denis Villeneuve. I would go with the new Dune, actually, on that one, which, gasp. David Lynch is fine when he's doing David Lynch movies. I'm not sure what Dune was supposed to be. I like the Villeneuve's Dune. I think they're good, with the exception of Zendaya bringing the whole thing down by just looking like she's mad at mad at Paul in every scene. I hope they do a part 3, like Dune Messiah, or Children of Dune, whatever. Basically, just wrapping up like the next couple books and leading into like Leto the Second and his transformation and stuff. They can't. They couldn't do the full series, but at least setting up like the next bit and establishing sort of like that Dune as a critique of sort of the hero's journey and critique of sort of messianic legends and things like that. I think would there's still room for a part 3 in there. Yes, Joshua turned me on to this channel. Happily subscribe. Thank you, Brer, and thank you, Joshua. Yeah, as I said in one of my community notes there, that my channel is a mixed bag of stuff, and so it'll float around all sorts of different things, and sometimes it'll be Disney, and sometimes it'll be Universal Monsters, and sometimes Godzilla, and whatever. But we'll see. It's the Disney stuff was sort of partially me kind of coming back around. This is actually kind of inspired by my last live stream, if you saw that, where I was doing my unboxing of stuff I bought from Japan, and I bought a whole bunch of stuff from Tokyo Disney Sea, because I love 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And Tokyo Disney Sea, of course, has the two best Disney attractions in the world: 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea and Journey to the Center of the Earth. I'm a big fan of Jules Verne, as well, in Victorian science fiction, even though this persona is mid-century monster kitsch. I love Victorian science fiction and Jules Verne. And yeah, so I bought all this stuff from Tokyo Disney Sea, and that just kind of rekindled something in me of like the excitement of like actually being excited for something that's Disney related that I got, as opposed to my usual attitude, which is like seeing a trailer and being like, oh god, what are they doing now? Hearing some dismal news about it, whatever. And so it kind of rekindled that thing in me of like, yeah, I do still like Disney stuff. I do like the Disney stuff I did like. That hasn't changed. Um, it's just what the company itself does now I don't really like. Um, so that got me on that kick of like watching the old movies, and decided I wanted to do one on Sleeping Beauty, another one on Princess and the Frog, which I liked, but in the context of like looking back now, like almost 20 years later, and just like seeing how Princess and the Frog played out as kind of like the last traditional Disney movie. Um, as also is like a very handy sort of cutting off point. Like, yeah, about 2009, that's when it all kind of went downhill. So from then on, everything went to crap. Mark of the Vampire doesn't really hold up. I actually like Mark of the Vampire. There are some ways in which I actually like Mark of the Vampire more than I like Dracula, which is heretical. But if you think of Mark of the Vampire as like Todd Browning's sort of like second draft at Dracula, I actually like it a lot. It's not quite as staid and stagey as Dracula is, and it's not as slow as Dracula is. I mean, keeping in mind it's also like 4 years, came out 4 years or so after Dracula. 35, same year as Bride of Frankenstein. So horror film has also had a chance to kind of develop a bit more as well in sound at that point. But I like Mark of the Vampire. Give it another shot. Give it another chance. My opinion of Esperanto? Not really. Um, my only real acquaintance with Esperanto is with Kenji Miyazawa. So the author of Night in the Galactic Railroad and other fairy tale stories. Amazing person, amazing work. My favorite Japanese author. And he was a big fan of Esperanto because he was also into Nichiren Buddhism, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. The Nichiren sect of Buddhism, which was very much like an evangelistic sect of Buddhism. That if you share the tenets of Nichiren, and if everyone followed it, then you have like this paradise kind of thing. And Esperanto fit into that idea of a universal language, this universal religion. So yeah, that's my only real acquaintance. And then like there's you see the film version in the Galactic Railroad, the one with the cats, the anime version. There's the text in that movie is written in Esperanto as well, but that's all I don't know how to read it or anything. I don't know the language itself. Never cared to learn it because I'm terrible at languages. So I'd rather learn Japanese than Esperanto. Godzilla should fight Gamera next. Yeah, sure, why not? Fans have been clamoring for Godzilla vs. Gamera for years, that they have been. What's your stance on museums and having artifacts and remains of indigenous people and returning them or covering them up? I actually did a project in university on human remains in museums. So my undergraduate degree, I started in geology. I switched to museum and heritage studies. And in my critical issues in museum and heritage class, we talked about human remains in museums, and I actually did like a term project on it. My opinion is that human remains should be treated with dignity regardless, right? So whether or not there can be sourced to an indigenous tribe of the area that they're in, or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Regardless of whether they can be sourced to anybody that's alive today, they should still be treated with dignity, right? Because these are human remains. One of my old profs, she had this horror story about, like, she was doing some research on this person, this Métis. It's an ethnic group here in Canada. Um, that's the descendants of European men who worked in the fur trade and indigenous women. That's the Métis. And she was doing research on this guy, and she found this like fund in these archives, and like reached into the Manila folder and pulled out the guy, like part of the guy's skull, which she was not expecting. Um, she felt like, yeah, because he had been executed, and so she was researching this guy and found like parts of his like bones and skull in this Manila envelope in an archive. Like, holy crap, that is wrong. That is not how human remains should be treated. Um, I now, you know, there's some landmine issues around all of this, right? So, one of part of my project actually I did multiple, but part of my larger project was on Kennewick Man, which was a find in Washington State of these human remains. And the initial studies of these remains found they actually weren't related to any indigenous group there in the area today. Nevertheless, the U.S. government intervened and reclaimed the remains, and then they were buried by the tribe of the area that the remains were found in. They appropriated these remains, and there was a lot of political issues around that. Not the least of which being like, do these remains imply that the indigenous people there today are not the people who have always been there? Um, so there's those political issues around it, right? I disagree with remains being appropriated by peoples that they're not related to, and I'm touchy about, I want if they're prehistoric remains, they should be studied, right? Because we can learn from that, and then once they've been studied, then given a proper interment and whatever. Not a huge fan of them being on display. You can make like a cast. You have casts on display. I remember years and years ago. I went when I was down in Los Angeles. Went to the Bray Tar Pits, and my friends who lived down there were like, they were kind of excited about. There was this the remains of the only human found in the Bray Tar Pits. It used to be on display. And then they discovered like that these remains had been taken out. And then myself and another friend of mine who works in a museum in North Carolina had to explain to our other friends who live in Los Angeles about U.S. laws concerning the display of human remains in museums and stuff like that, and how remains can't really be on display, and if they can be sourced, like traced back to an ethnic group that's in like an indigenous ethnic group of that area, then they are repatriated to that group. And I think as long as that freedom is given to study those remains first, I think that is a reasonable compromise. um, keeping in mind these are human remains, right? So, sorry if that's a roundabout discussion on the subject of human remains in museums. It's been a while since I've thought about it. I've been asked my opinion about it, so. Gene Hackman was probably foul play. I hope not. That would be sad. Even got the dog. They really got a good Bela lookalike in House of the Wolfman. It's good. I like how they recreated Dracula's brides in House of the Wolfman. Right. So you guys were talking about it's like a fan film or something, right? That got made. It's jogging in memory now. Zendaya looked uncomfortable in Dune. She looked like Marge Simpson. Every time Paul Atreides does something, she's just like, "Grr." It's like she needed to go to the bathroom every scene. I've seen Did you get to see the recent remake of Nosferatu? I have not seen Nosferatu. I've not seen the remake of Nosferatu. Do you think Gamera needs his own solo film before joining the MonsterVerse? as I've said before, I have tried to get into Gamera, and I just can't. Um, I don't know what it is about Gamera that I don't get. I'm happy for people who do get it and who enjoy Gamera, and I'm not gonna like say Gamera sucks or anything. Like, no, I'm happy for people who do get Gamera. I just don't. I don't know why. Um, but my chosen kaiju outside of Toho would be Daimajin. Daimagin's awesome. I don't get Gamera, and I've tried. I've watched a number of Gamera movies, and I don't know. I don't get it. So yeah, sure. We're gonna give Gamera a solo movie, put him in the MonsterVerse, whatever. Sure. Have you heard they're making a live action version of Voltron? I have heard that. And He-Man, yeah, there was like those leaked photos of Prince Adam being pulled over by the cops. So it's like, yes, exactly what everyone wants to see. Everyone wants to see He-Man in our world, and not some amazing fantasy adventure movie on Eternia, right? So no, that movie's gonna bomb big time. Also, Todd Browning, 1932, director of certain infamous film. Yeah, freaks. Unfortunately for you and others, Zendaya is going to be in Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. Oh, and also Shrek 5. Yeah. I don't know if I'll see The Odyssey. I'm not like a. See, I've liked every Christopher Nolan film that I've seen, but I'm not like a Christopher Nolan fan. Right? So I don't go out of my way to see his movies. Um, no, well, hold on. I thought Dark Knight Rises was kind of lame, but I like most Christopher Nolan movies I've seen. I just don't go out. I don't seek them out. That's the next big thing. More movies based on toys. Yeah, well, they ran with superheroes. Nobody cares about superheroes anymore. So, Jules Verne was very interested in Esperanto. Cool. Do you think they'll ever clone a Neanderthal man? No, I don't. Um, because that's too close to human. So, I think that's a little beyond the pale of what most people I think would be willing to accept. And also, it's different. Cloning a woolly mammoth, right? Because that's just an animal, right? And we eat animals, we study animals, we use animals for work and for play. We have pets, so our relationship with animals is different. But if you're cloning a Neanderthal, the only reason you're doing it is to study it. And a Neanderthal is a human being. It's not our same subspecies. It's Homo sapiens neanderthalensis instead of Homo sapiens sapiens, but it's still Homo sapiens, still human. So to clone a human, Neanderthal or otherwise, explicitly to study it is, I think that's beyond the moral pale. I can't see that being. I mean, China might do it because they don't give a crap, but the communist Chinese government. But I think in any like Western society, no, um, that wouldn't pass an ethics board even to do that work. So. Um, Oh wait, Court, you're a Canadian too. I am Canadian. Yes, I'm from Calgary, in fact. So, yeah, here in the Great White North, hopefully to remain that way. Sovereign Commonwealth realm of His Majesty King Charles III. Have you heard any theories about UFOs coming from the hollow Earth instead of outer space? I don't believe in UFOs, anyways. So, I mean, I've heard lots of theories, lots of stories, but I don't believe in UFOs anyways, let alone coming from the hollow Earth. Earth is not hollow. Earth is a solid mass of rock and metal going all the way down. I thought Plucidar was prehistoric, not futuristic. Yeah. Think a race of reptilians is secretly running everything? No. I'm no fun with this stuff. I'm like not a conspiracy theorist. So, Pellucidar needs a remake. Caroline Munro was so beautiful. Caroline Munro was so beautiful at the Earth's core. She'd be hard to replace. Highly recommend Gamera versus Barugon. Gamera versus Girion is my favorite. Yeah. Maybe I'll try again watching Gamera films. Yeah, I don't know. Just keep trying until I force myself to like them. I read the entirety of Azareth Core in like 4 hours one day. Yeah. Burroughs is not a great writer, but Burroughs is certainly a breezy and readable writer. So I will give him that. And not to say I don't like him either. I mean, I like Tarzan. I like John Carter. So it's not great literature, shall we say. On the topic of museums, do you think I missed out not going to the American Museum in New York? The only thing close to it I've been to is the Field Museum in Chicago. I've heard the American Museum of Natural History has a big collection. I would say you probably missed out. I mean, I haven't been to the American Museum of Natural History because I've never been to New York. But if I did go to New York, the American Museum would be on my list of things to do. Um, in fact, I would love to um, go do some filming in New York. Actually, do a video on real life locations connected with King Kong. Right, not necessarily filming locations because Kong was mostly filmed on sound stages and stuff in Hollywood. There's a few like live shots filmed in New York, like the airstrip and stuff like that. Um, but I would still love to go to like the Empire State Building and the American Museum of Natural History and stuff like that, and that airstrip, and talk and use that to talk about the connections that King Kong has with New York. Also, Radio City Music Hall, like where it premiered and stuff like that. Um, Also, want to go see like Hook and Ladder 8, like go do the Ghostbusters tour of New York as well. Um, but yeah, I just need to and just start like a crowdsourcing or something like that, right? So you guys can all pay for me to do that video. Go fly to New York and do that, right? Um, but yeah, I mean, I would go to a museum anywhere. Like one of the best museums I've ever been to was the Manitoba Museum. Excuse me, in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. The Manitoba Museum's amazing. It's freaking amazing. And then I live like an hour and a half from the Royal Trail Museum of Paleontology, which is like the best dinosaur museum in the world. So, whenever you get a chance, go to a museum, big or small. They should clone a saber-toothed tiger. That would be so cool. That would be cool. I don't know if it's possible. Um, Problem with saber-toothed like Smilodon is getting the DNA material because the DNA that they have gotten is all been from animals in permafrost. Um, so like your mammoths and stuff like that. But saber-tooth cat, like where I live here in Calgary, is like the farthest north that Smilodon got. So it wasn't in permafrost. So whether or not we'd actually find any DNA, and you could do like Homotherium, because that was in the Arctic, and they found that Homotherium kitten mummified recently. Could do that, but then you need to also find a surrogate. That's the next challenge. Um, like conceivably, you could use a lion, I suppose, as a surrogate for like a Homotherium, maybe. I guess the closest one, but I mean, you have better luck with like just resurrecting an American lion than at that rate. Um, but yeah, but yes, I would give me any Ice Age animal. I'd be happy to see any Ice Age animal alive. Though some of the information is out of date. Yeah, usual. I'd want one for a pet. Have you heard about all these recent sightings of drones everywhere? They appeared just before LA was razed to the ground. Well, I mean, Los Angeles wasn't razed to the ground, but I mean, the worst loss that I saw. I mean, the human tragedy, just all these people losing their lives and not lives, but like losing their homes and stuff is horrible in itself. But in terms of like a significant historical patrimony, um, Will Rogers' home, like that sucked losing that. That just sucked. Um, but thankfully the loss wasn't worse. I did see stuff about those drones. I have no idea what they were about, and I mean, I don't know. Conspiracy theories abound as to what those drones might have been. Love your thoughts on aliens and UFOs for the sake of brevity. Both are totally bogus, and it's refreshing to hear someone articulate that. Yeah. Never say never. Could be being watched by aliens as we speak. But I have not seen convincing evidence that UFOs are extraterrestrial spacecraft. And, I read this article a million years ago that sort of changed my mind on a lot of this stuff. Is a response to like the Drake equation and the problem of like why haven't we encountered extraterrestrial life? If the Drake equation is true, there should be aliens everywhere. So why haven't we ever met them? And there's all these hypotheses out there about like how maybe we are like one of the oldest species, or it's just we're so far apart that we'll never meet, or that maybe it's like this like hostile dark universe where everyone's staying quiet so we don't notice each other, that kind of stuff. If I was going to roll with the Drake equation, I would say we're just really far apart is all. So it kind of doesn't matter if there's extraterrestrial life out there because we'll never meet them. But this article, what it pointed out is like if you look at the history of life on Earth, it's a miracle that there's anything still alive on this planet at all. Because like Earth, like life on Earth went through so many bottlenecks. They got all these extinction events, right? Like mammals almost died out in the Cretaceous as well. Like when dinosaurs went extinct, mammals almost died out too. So like, if mammals did die out with that asteroid impacting into Cretaceous, then like, well, there wouldn't have been humans, right? And there would still be no intelligent life on this planet. Maybe squids would take over. I don't know, but so like, you think all the bottlenecks that life on our planet went through, and that might be the answer. Is just that, yeah, these other planets, if life did evolve on them to begin with, didn't make it, or is still stuck in like some primitive stage of development or whatever. Like ours might be the only planet either with life or with like sapient life on it, or at least the only one in our neck of the galaxy, our neck of the universe. Yeah, so basically the Drake equation, the variables are wrong, and that it's actually life is much more uncommon than it should be. Okay. Where's my okay, we're being invaded. Rex is back. Yay, a return. Like a phoenix. Like Ultraman in 72. Like a crappy Asylum Lost World adaptations. Whenever there's a new King Kong, I've returned. A King of the Lost World. Thinking of. There was a squadron that was wiped out by UFOs. It's been documented. Well, maybe. I swear the people who made those conspiracy theories are probably high and drunk at the same time. Also, Rex. How was the Triceratops steak? Cloning Smilodon is plausible, but not possible at the given moment. Yeah. In theory, you could clone anything as long as you have DNA from it, and you have a close enough related surrogate. So, like woolly mammoths, great. That's a great option because we have lots of mammoths. We already have the DNA strand. We've already coded like mammoth DNA. We've got that already. We've got lots of individuals we can pull more DNA from. And their closest living relative are Asian elephants. So we can use those as surrogates really easily. Whereas something like a giant sloth is never going to come back because we don't have the DNA and they don't have a close enough living surrogate. Like, are you going to put a megalonyx embryo into a three-toed sloth? Like, no. So sadly, my third favorite Ice Age animal, after mammoths and saber-toothed cats, are giant sloths. And we're never going to see those again. Those are gone. But in theory, Smilodon, you could, if you get the DNA, in theory. How does saber-toothed tiger eat with those teeth? No wonder they went extinct. Yeah. Saber-toothed cat, like Smilodon, is sort of maxed out of how big you can have your teeth and still be able to open your jaw. And most cats, they can open their jaw like 65 degrees or so. Whereas Smilodon can actually do 130 to get around those teeth. Right? In fact, see if I can get it down for you. Because I have a Smilodon skull. Engaging content looking at my butt. Come on. Here we go. All right, Smilodon. So for those of you who don't know and are new to my channel, I teach earth science professionally. Earth science educator and tour guide and so on. So yes, I have a Smilodon skull kicking around. So yeah, like Smilodon, it has to open up like that to actually use these. Biting down on the windpipe of like buffaloes and camels, basically, was its diet. How it would eat, though, is it would have to go at the side, right? So you have the carnassials here, so like the molars, but they're sharp because they're slicing meat, right? So it's going at it from the side, like that, because these, yeah, are too big, and you can't, like, these are meant to like puncture like a mobile prey. They're not really like steak knives meant to like saw through or bite through like a T-Rex. These are just meant to sever the windpipe and suffocate it and bleed it out, and then using the side teeth here to actually slice meat off and eat it. So there you go. Science lesson for today. What's my opinion of the Patterson film? It's a fraud. It's a bunch of guys in costumes. Rex, very good. My favorite part is the horns. We hollow them out and fill them back up with meat and deep fry them. Kind of like me with Ultraman. I can respect others who can enjoy the franchise and have a hard time getting into it. Yeah. I mean, I like Ultraman. I love Ultra Q. Ultra Q is amazing. If you haven't seen Ultra Q, watch Ultra Q. Ultraman, I have the first Ultraman series, and I've watched like the whole thing on Netflix. I've tried to watch others, but it's just like there's so much Ultraman content. Like it isn't even like Star Trek. It's been around for like almost about the same length of time as Star Trek, but where Star Trek, it's like here's this one series at a time with years and years between them. Whereas like Ultraman, it's like boom, 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 boom every year there's something. So it's just like, oh, that's too much Ultraman content. I don't want to have to sit down and watch it all. Sounds like Minnesota State Fair food. Bigfoot was a guy in a suit in the Patterson film, yeah. Favorite conspiracy theory. Most conspiracy theories are made up by the government, so we don't actually pay attention to the terrible things they do in public. Yeah. All conspiracy theories are psyops. Yeah. Yeah. The true conspiracy theories, like conspiracy theories, are made up by the government. Which is more reasonable. The only conspiracy theory that I actually believe in, to speak of, is an old one. It's the Project for the New American Century, which wrote in a document rebuilding America's defenses about the need for the U.S. to go to war with Iraq. And then the U.S. did, right? 9/11 happened, and then the U.S. went to war with Iraq. The only reason I believe that conspiracy theory is because what happened is exactly what they wrote in this document, and some of the board members of the Project for the New American Century were Dick Cheney and Donald Rumsfeld. So it's like, yeah, they just did the thing that they said they wanted to do. So, but yeah. Anyways, conspiracy theories. Did you ever see The Face on Mars? What are your thoughts? The Face on Mars is just an optical illusion. It's just a mountain that happens when light hits it a certain way, kind of has like quasi-human facial features. It's not actually a face. Was Atlantis an alien base? Atlantis was made up by Plato. Yeah, we went to a mock one a few years back, and now we try to do something similar when we can. Mock what? State Fair? Queen Amazona, that was the trick of the light shadow for the moment. Most recent photo show doesn't look like a face, yeah. Were most mythological events based on alien sightings in ancient times? No, I don't think so. Also, what do you mean no intelligent life without humans? You're talking to a typing T-Rex and squids at the same moment. We also weren't the ones who polluted the planet. Fair enough. Fair enough. Not counting the intelligent T-Rexes in my chats. There's some drawings at this place called Nazca Plains that can only be seen from the sky. They were put there in ancient times. Yes. Don't underestimate religion as a drive for doing things. Religion is an incredibly potent force in human psychology and in human society and human history. And there's this temptation that people have to want to find some sort of materialistic scientific reason for religious things. Oh, yeah, Jews don't eat pork because they knew that the pork has diseases. That's an example. In this case, oh, they must have made the Nazca drawings in the desert there to summon aliens, right? Why? Why aliens and not just they're drawing these pictures to the sky and to the deities they believe lived in the sky? Oh, that's like aliens. Well, no, not necessarily. I mean, lots of cultures have deities of the weather and sky, and the sun is a deity in most religions. Um, that sort of thing. So were these things drawn as like offerings to the Nazca gods? Yeah. Why not? What makes that theory wrong? And they drew them to impress aliens? Correct. I was trying to track down like there must be an origin for beliefs in gods. Must be aliens. That's materialistic explanation. There must be aliens. It's like, well, no. First of all, aliens aren't an explanation because we haven't proven aliens exist. And secondly, no. Um, Human religious psychology is sufficient to explain that. We invent gods, if you want to put it that way. Um, to or we invent these concepts of deities to relate to some transcendent aspect of reality that we tap into as human beings. That our consciousness has reached a point where we can sense some kind of transcendent underlying connecting reality to the material world around us. And how we articulate that is through these concepts of gods. That's why most sort of pagan religions, these are deities of like weather and war and other sort of phenomena. Abrahamic religions are different though. Abrahamic religions kind of zig where everybody else zags. Abrahamic religions don't do that, which is part of why I'm a Christian. So, but those Nazca images, they are people connecting with this transcendent reality through the creation of these images that either depicting or are meant to be seen by like their gods. It's this form of trying to connect with this ultimate transcendent reality. I think that is entirely sufficient explanation without having to invoke UFOs and aliens and stuff. Nazca cover the face on Mars. No, the closest is that in Norse mythology, the gods aren't gods; they're basically aliens. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's again part of why I'm Christian is that the Norse gods aren't really gods in a Judeo-Christian sense of what a god is. Like the Judeo-Christian definition of God is ipsum esse subsistens. It's from Thomas Aquinas. The subsistent act of to be itself. God is to be. God is being. God is not a being. God is beingness itself. And it's from God being being, beingness, the ultimate reality, the ground of all being, ipsum esse subsistens, that you get then God's sort of like secondary characteristics. God's omnipotent and omniscient and omnipresent and all sorts of things. Then you look at like the Norse gods, and yeah, they're just a bunch of like extraterrestrial assholes. there's nothing godlike about the Norse gods except that they're really powerful. They're not omniscient, they're not omnipotent, they're not omnipresent, they're not ipsum esse subsistens. They are subordinate beings. They were created within the universe. And the entire like Norse saga is like Odin being obsessed with the foreknowledge of his own death, and the forthcoming Ragnarok, and what does that mean for him? That's not a god. That's just a really powerful jerk. So, and just like credit, the Marvel movies, the MCU is actually a fairly accurate representation of the Norse gods as just these very powerful sort of like extra dimensional aliens. but not gods per se. Definitely not gods the Judeo-Christian worldview. So, like, as a Christian, you could like definitively prove to me that Odin exists. Like, Odin exists as an actual objective being, and it still wouldn't change my religion at all, because in my religion, Odin isn't a god. Odin is just this very powerful alien entity. But yeah, anyways. So here we go again, talking everything but monsters and stuff. Nazca lines are so cool. Yeah, the creature would probably take down a woolly mammoth. Yeah. I hate it when humans group us intelligent non-humans in when it comes to being responsible for destroying the planet. Should have Ultraman join the MonsterVerse. Well, they did do um the Shin Heroes universe, right? So the the rebuild of Evangelion, Shin Gojira, Shin Ultraman, and Shin Kamen Rider. They made that like nightmare fuel like combiner toy out of them. So I don't know who was smoking what when they made that thing, but so there already kind of is in a way an Ultraman Godzilla crossover in a sense. Um, but I know what you mean, like full on Ultraman in the MonsterVerse, which would be a heck of a next movie. So, Godzilla versus Kong versus Ultraman versus Gamera. Why not? I have a soft spot for the Field Museum. I remember going there at a young age, and I have been there several times more since I have family in Milwaukee, and that's next door to Chicago. Plus, G-Fest is attended. I've never been. I've been to Chicago once, in the airport, flying from Calgary to Orlando, and we had pizza in the airport because you have to have pizza, the deep dish pizza, right? Um, but Chicago is the start of Route 66, and I do want to do Route 66 at some point in my life. Maybe not so much right now, with the exchange rate being what it is, and a certain president threatening to take over my country. But I do want to do Route 66. So that means going to Chicago, and that means I will absolutely go to the Field Museum. Of course I will. I want to see Sue, like the real Sue. I saw the cast of Sue at Disney World, but I want to see the real Sue. Godzilla vs. Ultraman, yeah. What about the Loch Ness Monster? It didn't exist. Loch Ness Monster, I don't know what is in Loch Ness, but Loch Ness itself is only a few thousand years old. Right? Loch Ness is a glacial lake. Similar to Lake Okanagan here in Canada. This is our one. Lake Okanagan in British Columbia has Ogopogo in it, who's another lake monster. But both Loch Ness and Lake Okanagan are these narrow, windy, glacial lakes that are only like 9,000 years old. So whatever is in there, it is not a prehistoric animal, because the lakes didn't exist prior to the last glaciation. They have pictures of the Loch Ness Monster. They have pictures of things in the lake. Whether or not it's a monster is another story. I remember hearing that the Denver airport is secretly a bunker of some kind, and I don't think it's impossible. Maybe, I don't know. I've been to the Denver airport a couple times, but didn't look around for a bunker. Last live stream was religion. This one's conspiracy theories. Which is really more of you guys bringing up conspiracy theories and me going, no. Sorry. I know it's not very much fun, right? Most monster fans are like big on the conspiracy theories and stuff too, but I'm rather boring in that respect. I'm very much the standard narrative of things. What's your theories about Ezekiel's wheel in the Bible? I've heard the theory it's aliens. I don't see a need for that. I think it is when you get these visions described in the Bible, what you're getting are human attempts to describe a direct encounter with this transcendent ultimate reality, God, ipsum esse subsistens. They've encountered that transcendent reality connecting all of existence directly. And how do you explain that? How do you describe that? And so you get the kind of imagery like they have in the Bible, right? We're talking about wheels upon wheels covered in eyes with dozens of wings and all sorts of stuff like that. Those are sort of human attempts to explain symbolically and allegorically the direct experience of the transcendent divine. So I don't think there's any need to, again, that trying to say, oh, it was a UFO. Ezekiel was taken up by a spaceship, flying saucer, is trying to find like a materialistic explanation for what is a spiritual reality. And being a spiritual person, being a Christian myself, I don't have a need to do that. Like, why do I need to invoke aliens to explain Ezekiel when God is a sufficient explanation for that? It's just if you don't want God to exist, then you might try and come up with aliens or something. If we're going to start cloning extinct animals, we should start with something simpler, say the passenger pigeon. Yeah, I mean, one would think that, just resurrecting the animals that we drove into extinction in recent history would be a good place to start. So, like passenger pigeons, great auks, um, Tasmanian, was it Tasmanian wolf or whatever? Stuff like that. Um, Animals that we drove into extinction in recent history, like recorded history, the dodo, things like that, I think would be a preferable place to start. But there's also, that comes with also certain issues as well, right? Because if you start cloning extinct animals, then you have people will start thinking like, oh, it doesn't matter, we don't have to protect the environment now because we can just clone these animals again. And so, well, no, we should protect their environments. And one of the big problems with trying to clone these animals back is like, where do you put them? Because they went extinct for a reason. And if that reason was like habitat loss and destruction, and that habitat is still gone, well, where are you going to put them? Right? You just have to live in zoos, I guess, forever now. You seem to be describing aliens and a craft. I don't think so. I'm friends with Nessie's granddaughter. She is cool, but a bit too flirty. She'll hit on anyone. Darn Nessie. I know an actual Nessie in real life. She's kind of a flirt too. Your Nazca Lines explanation. So accurate. Thank you. What are you going to do for Kong's birthday? I wasn't planning anything, actually. Because that 2 years ago was the 30th or the 90th anniversary. This will be like, what, the 92nd anniversary coming up? Yeah. We'll wait till we get to 100. Then we'll talk. But also, that said, like 2029, like midnight January 1st, 2029, we're doing like a Godzilla or a King Kong watch party here because it'll be public domain. That'll be the date it hits public domain. So we're gonna do like a live stream King Kong that day. Was Christ an alien? No. I'm gonna read the original draft of the script of Kong on the anniversary. Nice. They'll explain some of the miracles described in the Bible. Not really, because aliens aren't a sufficient explanation. Anyways, they haven't proven aliens exist, let alone that being a more credible explanation than God existing. Walking on water, any basis in reality? Well, I think so, but it's a miracle. Miracles, by definition, are events that sort of transcend the normal laws of the physical universe. So can you prove scientifically that Jesus walked on water? No, because by definition you can't prove a miracle. Thor in Nordic mythology was shown to be of low intelligence and easily tricked by Loki. Correct. Thor is a jock. If you could meet Miriam C. Cooper, what would you ask him? Oh God, I am terrible with celebrities. Okay, I am not a big like celebrity guy. I always like clam up and like barely say anything when I actually do meet a celebrity. It's like, hi, nice to meet you. I really appreciate your work. Like, I don't have anything to say to celebrities, and I don't make a habit of going to like greet them and pay to get their signatures and stuff like that. The last time I ever even had a thought of doing that was at the last Comic-Con we had here in Calgary, where I was going through like the dealers around the edge of the celebrity zoo, and I saw Jodie Benson, so the voice of the Little Mermaid, and also the voice of Anne Darrow in that terrible King Kong cartoon musical. And she, like, nobody was there in her line, and I was like, oh, I almost feel kind of bad for her. And I was almost tempted just to pay up and get her signature and chat her up about like King Kong and stuff. Um, but again, I'm like, what do I have to talk to a celebrity about? Like, they acted in a thing that I liked. Okay, um, like what kind of conversation am I going to have with them otherwise? So what would I talk about with Miriam C. Cooper? I don't have a damn clue what I would ask Miriam C. Cooper about, other than maybe, I guess, to for him to clarify like certain myths about King Kong. Like, was the spider pit sequence ever really filmed? Like, really, Miriam? Can you tell me the truth on that one? Um, Even then, I probably wouldn't believe him. So, and for the record, no, the spider pit sequence was not actually filmed. I love Norse mythology because it's just a bunch of overpowered frat bros trying to deny the inevitable. Also, the birth of Sleipnir is incredible. Yeah, yeah. I read. I got a copy of the 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 Eddas sent to me one time as a review copy for my blog, my old Victorian science fiction blog. And why I got sent a copy of the Eddas, you have a blog and like everyone sends you like announcements of like, hey, review our stupid thing, interview some politician. Like, I have a blog on Victorian science fiction. Why would I want to interview some politician? But I'm not going to turn down a copy of the Eddas. And yeah, that's exactly what it is. The Eddas are just a bunch of frat bros trying to deny the inevitable. I've always been confused by the story of Jesus exorcising someone and casting the demons into a herd of swine. Okay. So, there is. Here we go. Cory's going to dust off his theology degree. All right. So, you have in that story, there's a political commentary going on. Okay. So I can hear the bride cackling upstairs. I don't know what she's cackling at. So you've got this guy. He's infested with demons. He was possessed by a legion of demons. So there's more than one. There's a whole bunch of demons in there. In fact, where does the word legion come from? A legion is the name of a Roman military unit. And Jesus casts out this legion of demons and puts them into a herd of pigs. Why is there a herd of pigs in Israel? It's not there for the Jews to eat, is it? So the swine are there because they're there to feed the Roman occupiers. Right? Jesus was living at a time when Israel was occupied by the Romans. That's where the name Palestine comes from, incidentally. Palestine is a colonizer name. Palestine was the name given to Israel by the Roman occupiers. So you have Jesus casting out this legion of demons into a herd of pigs that are there to feed the Roman occupiers. So there is a political undercurrent to this story going on. Whether you believe it actually happened in real life, or whether you believe it's some kind of allegorical story or whatever. But it is a story, and it's a reference to the Roman occupation of Israel. And sort of it's referencing the idea, the expectation that the Messiah was supposed to be a military figure, right? So the Hebrews, the Jews, they were looking forward to a messianic king who was going to lead an army, who was going to cast out the Romans, chase them out, force them out by military force, and then institute a new kingdom of Israel with the Messiah as the king, sitting on the throne of King David. Jesus was not that. And that's not what the Messiah was ever supposed to be. Because, okay, great, you have a new king of a new kingdom. What's changed, right? You change the rulers, but not the rules. Jesus came to change the rules. Um, Jesus's dominion was over life and death, not over a kingdom on a planet. Um, so that's what's kind of being expressed there, right? This language and this allusion to that sort of military idea of the Messiah is being used to show Jesus's dominion over spiritual powers, which are far deeper and bigger and more important than just sort of the pithy political issues of the time, whatever those might happen to be. Hopefully that explained it. I don't know. I know we're all tuning into Monster Kid Cory's live stream for theology discussion, but hopefully that helped. The Hearing Museum is the California Academy of Sciences in San Francisco because they have Claude. Yes, I have to see Claude sometime. You know, I've been seeing. I joined this like U.S. national parks group on Facebook recently, and one of the most popular subjects is Yosemite, and that is making me just like wishing that 2020 didn't happen, and that we did go on our trip that we were supposed to do to Yosemite, Sequoia, Kings Canyon, San Francisco, Muir Woods. It's really got me wishing that had happened, and that what did happen in 2020 didn't happen. Someone jokingly made me a victim of Stockholm Syndrome, so I jokingly made them a victim of gaslighting. Was Christ a socialist? No. Give unto Caesar what belongs to Caesar. Okay. So, two separate things there. First of all, Jesus was not a socialist. Jesus does not fit into any modern political or economic category. Jesus was not a chaplain for whatever one's particular side happens to be. Jesus was not a capitalist. Jesus was not a socialist. Jesus was not a conservative. Jesus was not a progressive. Jesus was Jesus. Jesus is the most singular person who has ever lived in all of human history. Jesus is not a mascot for a side in modern politics. Okay, so that out of the way. Give unto Caesar, Kaiser, what belongs to Kaiser. That was a broader debate in first century Jewish society in Roman occupied Israel about whether or not Roman coins were blasphemous. Because Roman coins were inscribed with not just the head of Kaiser, but also an affirmation of Kaiser's divinity. Right? The Romans believed that Kaiser was a god in the sense of they believe that Kaiser was the embodiment of the deified state. Right? So you gave alms to Kaiser as a god to show your loyalty and fidelity to the Roman state. So these coins were inscribed with stuff like that, right? These affirmations of Kaiser's divinity as well as his image. And so the Jews didn't really know what to do with that. And there was lots of debates in the different sects of first century Jewish society about, should you use these coins or not? Is using these coins blasphemous? You know how Jesus, went apeshit in the temple and, flipped over the tables of the money changers? What were the money changers? What were they about? The money changers, what they did is they took Roman coins and then exchanged them for Jewish coins that could then be used in the temple. You couldn't use Roman coins in the temple because the Roman coins were blasphemous. Right? You couldn't use imagery inscribed to the deified Kaiser as your offering in the temple to God. That's what the money changers were all about. So when the Pharisees go to Jesus and they're like, "Hey, should we pay taxes or not?" They're asking him this question of what should be done with this blasphemous money that's inscribed with Kaiser. And Jesus has a very tricky reply to this. He says, "Give to Kaiser what belongs to Kaiser." And he says this, he asks for a coin, says, "Whose image is on this coin?" "Oh, it's Kaiser's." "Okay, give to Kaiser what is Kaiser's." So Jesus is saying, this money belongs to Kaiser, so you give that to him then, whatever. But now here's the tricky part. The money belongs to Kaiser because it has Kaiser's image on it. Human beings In whose image are we made? Right? Well, if you're a Jew, first century Jew, listening to Jesus, you'll pick up on this, right? Human beings are made in the image of God. So the money belongs to Kaiser, but you, as a human being, you belong to God. Right? That's the subtext in there. And Jesus says it in a very tricky way so that nobody can entrap him and say, oh, you're this side, you're that side, go off to Pontius Pilate and get Jesus arrested, whatever else, right? Which eventually happened anyways. But that's what's going on with that. Is that Jesus saying, the money, the material stuff of this world, whatever belongs to Kaiser, whatever, whoever images. So pay taxes, I guess, whatever. It doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. This is property of Kaiser. But you are property of God. You're made in God's image. So your life, your soul, your efforts, your loyalty belongs to God, not to Kaiser. Or in our case, whatever your government is, right? It doesn't belong to the United States if you're American, it doesn't belong to Canada or the king if you're Canadian, right? You live in this society and you use its money and that sort of thing, but your ultimate loyalty is to God. Doug, hi, welcome to our theology discussion here this evening. Welcome. Sorry to gush, and I know you would object, but you seriously could be the next superstar intellectual to come out of Canada since that one psychologist. Except that psychologist has far greater discipline to actually do anything than I do. So, I used to have a YouTube channel where I expounded on culture and theology and stuff like that, but, I got dozens of views, so whatever. No, I have a problem with staying a course on anything and actually living up to my potential. So instead, we'll just have an audience, a church service here on my live stream. So I made a picture of Loch Ness Monster with a toy submarine. Correct. Do you defend the casting of fossil bones on display at natural history museums? Yeah, sure. I think using casts in natural history museums is fine. Because it keeps the original material intact and available for research. It's not, if you want to look at some bone of some dinosaur, it's not up there in some display. It's in a drawer somewhere in the back. And you can also do like really dynamic and interesting displays with casts of fossils. So like look up photos of the Royal Trail Museum of Paleontology, the Royal Trail Museum here in Alberta, and look at their dinosaur displays. Those are all casts. There's very little original bone material in the exhibits, but fantastic casts of these animals in like life poses and doing dinosaur stuff. I think it's really evocative to do it that way. It's a lot more freedom to do it that way with a cast than with using the actual bone. But there's the actual specimens on display. It's just they're not like trussed up in like full skeletons, right? They're just like in cases and stuff like that, which are easy to access. If you think you're boring on conspiracy theories, wait till you meet me. Similarly, someone once jokingly made me a victim of cyberbullying, so I jokingly made them a victim of permanent paralysis of legs and spinal cord. Piltdown Man was a fake, and we know it was a fake. So, yeah. Hold on a second, I lost track of what the chat was. So, definitely fake. Got carbon data. Yeah. The Piltdown Man. It was like a human skull and an orangutan jaw and teeth. If I remember correctly. I'm not boring on conspiracy theories. I'm annoying on them, according to my classmates. I usually go on a rant about how a lot of these were made by. Indeed. Piltdown was debunked pretty short order. Yeah. On the conspiracy theories, not destroying someone's skeleton. Like casts and whatever. Do you think Greys collect human DNA because they're an ancient race and they're avoiding extinction? Sure, why not? I think Tasmanian tiger should be brought back. We could also use some more extinct duck species, yeah. Thank you, Bride, for trying to get us back on that track. We'll see if we get to that question of what's on the shelves behind me. I've rearranged. Were Christ's miracles mass hypnotism? I don't believe that. No, I think there actually were miracles. We need a film about the making of King Kong. That would be fun, actually. I'd rather see that than just another remake of King Kong. Fay Ray was a part of Lionel Atwill's cult. Was she? I don't know. I haven't got around to finishing her. I have her biography, but I haven't barely started it really. Um, I don't know. I doubt she would even talk about it in her biography if she was. Um, my heart hopes she wasn't, just because ew, Lionel Atwill's cult was creepy and gross. Um, but yeah. Anyways, I hope she wasn't in the cult. I believe in the spider pit sequence. Well, okay, good for you. Unfortunately, no. The evidence would suggest the spider pit sequence was never actually filmed. O'Brien's widow said it was filmed. Well, here's the thing with the spider pit sequence. Look up Ray Morton, Morton. Ray Morton, he has written extensively on King Kong, like literally written books about King Kong. And he talked about this on a YouTube video. He has seen the original shooting scripts. And the original shooting schedules. So the schedule of every single shot that is in the movie, what day they filmed it on, how long it took, all that sort of stuff. He has seen those papers. And he said every scene in the movie is on the shooting schedule. There are scenes that were filmed that were cut from the movie, and the spider pit sequence is not on those schedules at all, which would suggest that they never actually filmed it at all. And that what you see, like you see those photos and things, those were test photos. So they built the sets, they built the monsters, the models. They did some test shots with it, but it was taken out of the film before it was ever actually shot. So they realized, like early on, still in the script stage, that this scene would slow the movie down because we don't need to see the sailors dying, right? We don't need a 5-minute gruesome scene of them being killed because they're not important characters. They can just die when the log falls. That's enough. They realized it would slow the film down at the script stage, so they took it out of the script, never actually filmed it. That's what seems to have happened. That's Ray Morton's argument, and I'm inclined to agree with him. Or conspiracy theories to religion. How fun. I was found an exorcist, the priest became possessed. Those poor pigs. I'd say let's not get political, but I think it's too late. Which is why the priest jumped out of the window and down the stairs, if I recall correctly. Wait, so was Christ a non-meat eater? No, Jesus ate meat. It's depicted in the Bible. In fact, after he returns from the dead, when he rises from the dead, he is depicted as eating fish. That's a very important moment, actually, because it shows that he's not just a ghost. Like, he's actually physically there. He's actually physically eating something. And then, the fish, there's that connection with, like, the miracle of the loaves and fishes and things like that. Like, there's this connection between Jesus and fish. Fish is an image. Fish is a miracle. Commissioning the disciples to be the fishers of men, that sort of thing, which is why the fish was an early symbol in Christianity. So, and you still see Jesus fish on cars and stuff, right? So no, Jesus is actually depicted eating meat and providing meat for others, right? Because he did the miracle of the loaves and fishes. Cool thing is that my school we get Lunar New Year off. Nice. As some kids do celebrate the holiday, and now everyone gets a day off tomorrow. I'm gonna go to a Humong restaurant tomorrow. He was vegan? No. Yeah, Lunar New Year's tomorrow? I didn't even look up what the festivities in my town. He was Jewish, so he's at least kosher. Yeah, Jesus was kosher for sure. But the disciples were not. The disciples eventually let that go. Because they eventually realized it's not about following these rules about sort of maintaining a Jewish identity. That's what a lot of those rules were about. it was about maintaining a Jewish identity. And Christians eventually realized, like, no, we're a universal religion. We're not just for Jews. We're for everybody, Jews and Gentiles. And so that's when they started dropping the kosher requirements. And that's why I, as a Christian, can eat pig. All I want. Macha Cory, subscribe for RKOSA, stay for theological insights. Yeah. I haven't done any videos about it yet, but I'm sure somewhere down the line there was going to be a video on, like, how I, as a Christian, am okay with horror movies. Christ did drive the moneylenders from the temple. Yeah, that he did do. Jesus' dominion was over life and death, not kingdoms. Well said, thank you. Yeah. So he disapproved of mixing religion and money. Yes. More so than that. It was. It's about the profaning and the commercializing of something sacred. Specifically, putting this basically is putting a paywall in people's relationship with God, right? And how these people are profiting off of that. And that's what he's reacting against, is this system of exploitation from the Roman occupiers on down, that was putting this paywall in and oppressing people, putting this paywall in between them and God. That's all what was going on in the temple there. And then there was also some broader stuff going on there as well about sort of the temple system reaching its end. So how Jews related to God was through the temple and the temple system. And now with Jesus, as Jesus being God incarnate, the direct encounter of humankind with God, the temple has reached the end of its usefulness. And in fact was destroyed in 70 CE by the Romans as well. So have you ever been accused of being a misogynist because your argument of lack of romance in modern Disney and the original King Kong being one of your favorite movies, which says and scream most? No, of many of the things I've been accused of, misogynist is not one of them yet. I haven't crossed that one off on the bingo sheet. I'm actually surprised that didn't happen with that video. So my Princess and the Frog one, I'm surprised somebody didn't swoop in and accuse me of that. But hey, there's still time. Fay Ray's character had no attachment to Kong. Yeah. In fact, I find the interpretations of like a sexual or romantic nature to be like super creepy. Like, I could understand like Ann Darrow feeling sympathy for Kong as like a big animal that was taken from his home stuff, but the idea of like there being some kind of like sexual or romantic tension between Ann Darrow and Kong, ew, no, gross, no thanks, nope, don't need that. EC Comic stream raids again. Son of EC Comic, yeah, we're getting there, right? Peter Jackson's Kong was almost about bestiality. Yeah, well, I think the 76 one even was more overt than that. So, did you ever see Tales from the Crypt, the Amicus version? I have not actually seen that movie. I have not seen the Amicus Tales from the Crypt or Vault of Horror. I suppose I should at some day, but it's like a 70s movies. I'm not like big on 70s movies. So, no, I'd almost rather just spend the time watching the old HBO show. Instead of EC Comic stream raids again. Remember the last stream we also talked about religion. Yeah. I need to like do a new thumbnail of like the Church of Monster Kid Cory here. Do you think pterodactyls survived and were the basis for dragons in ancient China? No, I do not. There is nothing less like a pterodactyl or a dinosaur than an Asian dragon. Dragons are spiritual entities in Asian religion and mythology and stuff. So they're not meant to just be like reports of living dinosaurs. And there are no living dinosaurs except for birds. Piltdown Man was very creative. Yeah. Well, Piltdown Man worked because it fit with the expectations of what they thought human evolution did. Um, right. So the thought in like around the turn of the previous century was that the human brain evolved first, and then the body followed. So we got this big brain, and then we started to walk upright and have hands that we could use to manipulate objects with. So Piltdown Man fits into that big brain, very primate like jaw. But um, the reason why people started to figure out Piltdown Man was a fraud was that we started finding more and more primitive hominids in Africa, and human evolution went the other direction. Actually, we had the more modern body, and then the brain followed. Right, so we started to walk upright. We started to manipulate objects with our hands, and then the brain followed suit. So Piltdown Man kept looking more and more out of place as like this big brained monkey as opposed to this small brained human. And then they did like the dating on it and stuff like that and figured out, oh yeah, no, it is a fraud. And I think last I read, I think they even kind of figured out who did it as well. Um, but yeah, Piltdown Man was the opposite of how human evolution actually went, but it was consistent with what they thought at the time that the hoax was made. Um, Atwill was probably a worshiper of the Dog Prince. It wouldn't surprise me. Or at the very least, not a particularly religious man in any regard. A lot of fans of 05 defended the relationship between Anne and Kong platonic, but it's kind of hard to believe watching the actual movie. Yeah. Well, I try not to watch the movie if I can help it. But yeah, no, there's lots to not like about the 2005 Kong. Um, I mean, yeah, let's leave it at that. There's lots to not like about it. I don't. So that can be one of them. But I will say Naomi Watts was like the only real highlight of the whole thing, anyways. Um, definitely a strange fellow. Yeah, I think Peter Jackson's recreation is cool. Okay. Kong undressed Ann Darrow like a Barbie doll. Yep. Oh, no, lost the chat again. Where'd it go? That scene actually got censored for decades. Yeah. Would Jesus like the McDonald's filet o fish? The miracle of the filet o fish. Yeah. If you don't mind me asking, what's your favorite type of seafood? That's the expose. Um, Cory, what's your favorite anime? My favorite anime is Galaxy Express 39, the TV series. So that was a anime series created by Leiji Matsumoto. Started as a manga, then made into an anime series that was on air from 1979 to 1982 or 3. 113 episodes worth. And I love it. It is like the epitome of sad is happy for deep people. Not that I'm so deep, but it's so sad because it's like this sad, profound meditation on what it means to be human, all framed within the context of this spacefaring steam train. So I love Galaxy Express 39 is my favorite anime. Other favorite anime of mine, I like the Macross franchise in general, and specifically Super Dimension Fortress Macross, Macross Plus, and Macross Frontier are my favorites within the Macross franchise. Vision of Escaflowne is another favorite of mine. Um, it's hard to say that I like Neon Genesis Evangelion, because it is a rather unpleasant experience, but it's a fascinating one. And so I own it, and I've watched it multiple times, trying to figure it out. Right, it intrigues me, but I don't know if favorite is the right word. I don't like enjoy it like I enjoy watching Escaflowne or 3-9. Um, what else? There's a fun series called Oh Ito Rocket that is just kind of like this crazy, like retro science fiction thing. It's hard to explain. Oh Ito Rocket. Um, I mean, for movies, like anything by Studio Ghibli, more so older stuff. by Miyazaki and Takahata. Um, I mean, I actually haven't even seen The Boy and the Heron. Haven't got around to it yet. Just 'cause it's like, it's, every time Miyazaki comes back from retirement, it ends up being like not as good as his old stuff, anyways. So, um, but for Ghibli stuff, My Neighbor Totoro is my favorite, followed by Castle in the Sky, um, and Only Yesterday. No, yes, no, is it Only Yesterday? Oh, something I can't remember. It's the one that The Cat Returns was a spin-off from. Not Only Yesterday, is it? Oh, that's gonna bug me. Why? God, yeah, Cory. Real favorite movies. Can't remember the title of it. Hold on a sec here. Dum. Yeah, Not Only Yesterday. Um, God, why can't I remember the movie? Someone in the comment section, for the love of God, help me out here. Dum. Whisper of the Heart. There we go. Good lord. Okay. Whisper of the Heart. Can't remember the title, but I like that one. Um, and yeah, I mean, they're all good. Just keep going down the line listing them. But also Makoto Shinkai, 5 centimeters per second. Oh my god, it's even like Your Name is good. 5 centimeters per second is amazing, and it's so heartbreaking. Oh god. Yeah, I love heartbreaking anime. Right, sad is happy for deep people. Melancholic meditations on the human condition anime. That's my favorite genre. Um, yeah, what else? It covers a lot of anime right there. Haven't watched a lot of new stuff. Last most newest thing I saw, I think, was Your Name. Um, I started watching Attack on Titan, and then it like got to the end of like season 2, and I was like, I just forgot about it, its existence. Um, did rewatch Macross Delta recently because it popped up on Disney Plus, so which was surprising to see Macross on Disney Plus. Except for Super Dimension Fortress, like the first series is not on there, which is weird. Starting to get hungry. Seafood discussion here. Joan Collins in the original Tales from the Crypt. Cool. Come on. Where did that go? See, it keeps. I like scroll a little bit on the chat and suddenly, boop, jumps to the bottom. That's where I lose track of where things are. Okay. Killer Santa Claus. Amicus made Vault of Horror. Yep. Is Bigfoot an evolutionary offshoot of Neanderthal man? No. There is nothing in the fossil record that even resembles a Bigfoot. Bigfoot. I actually wrote like a chapter about this in my book about the Ice Age. So, I talk about Bigfoot in my book. Because Bigfoot looks like something that should be from the Ice Age, right? This big, giant, like megafaunal ape walking around the same landscape as woolly mammoths and mastodons and giant bears and giant lions and stuff like that. Seems like it should be an Ice Age animal, but there is nothing in the fossil record like a Bigfoot. The closest might be like Australopithecines, but they never left Africa. So, and they weren't as big as a Bigfoot is supposed to be. So, yeah, no. I mean, there's Gigantopithecus, but that was like a giant orangutan that died out when the Ice Age began because the forests all started disappearing with climate change. So, yeah, like there's just nothing like a Bigfoot. So, and Neanderthals, I mean, Neanderthals would just look like people, right? If you are European, you have European background, you have Neanderthal DNA in you. Neanderthals, if one was around today, it would just look like a very like robust human, right? They would have like they would be kind of like bigger, a little stockier, maybe a little bit taller than average. and with like heavier set facial features and probably a more pronounced brow ridge and a larger nose. Um, other like a slightly thicker jaw, but like more heavy set features. But otherwise, like you wouldn't, if you saw one walking down the street and was like wearing a suit going off to work, you wouldn't really notice that it was a different subspecies of human. I know the O5 Kong isn't perfect, but it got me into King Kong, so it isn't all terrible. Well, if it got you into Kong, that's fine. That's what people try and remind me of. And keep in mind, it's like, well, everybody has to find out about something sometime, and I didn't always love old movies either. um, I had to acquire a taste for classical horror movies, so I try and keep that in mind. Um, and I try and be, somewhat diplomatic here on my channel, of like, if you liked it, good for you. I did not, but 76 Kong and more merchandise than any other version. I can believe that. Fruits Basket. Yes, the bride loves Fruits Basket, and we've been finished watching the recent remake of that series, but we still need to watch the prologue one. Bride, you have to make me watch that. Thought the new Sue exhibit was really cool, with cool interactive and additional informational exhibits such as smelling of Sue's breath. Ooh. And cool separate video screen effects showing 67 million near North America. That does sound cool. Galaxy Express deserves a live version. Yeah, I've thought about that for years. Of like, what would a live action Galaxy Express 39 trilogy look like? And for the aesthetic, if you've ever seen the live action Cass Hearn movie, that's like the aesthetic that I would go with. This sort of steampunk looking thing. So that kind of explains like why the train looks like a steam train. It wouldn't be an exact like D51 or no, C62 is what the C39 is. It wouldn't be an exact like steam train like that, but it would look more or less like it. Just kind of like more wheels and stuff, more gears. Go look for steampunk. It's got to have more gears to it. The first movie would just be like the setup and sort of like Tetsuro's journey from Earth to Pluto, Trader Junction. And then the second movie would be kind of like setting up the whole space opera part of it, like the war between humans and androids, and introduce Captain Harlock and all that sort of stuff. And then the third film would be like, wrapping it all up, right? Tetsuro gets to Andromeda and all that. Make this sort of trilogy of space opera kind of movies, and trying to more successfully blend the character drama parts with the space opera parts than I think any other version has done. Like the Galaxy Express 39 feature film, I think sacrificed too much of the character drama to inject space opera into it. And I don't like 39 for space opera. Captain Harlock is fine for space opera. 39 is way more of like a character drama, character study. And that's what I like about it. The kid's family was killed in Galaxy Express. Not sure how that would play today. Well, I mean, it would be what it would be, right? You have to have Tetsuro be an orphan, and you have to have him see his mom get killed by an android. That's a key part of the story. The story doesn't happen if that doesn't happen. You should check out Delicious in Dungeon. It's my favorite anime, which isn't saying much because I'm a Toku diehard, and but it actually is incredible. Okay, Delicious in Dungeon. All right. If you want to see a nuts one, if you want to see an insane anime, watch Humanity Has Fallen. That one is nuts. Humanity Has Fallen is hilarious, hilariously weird. Elf Princess Rain is another one. It was like a 2-episode OVA. Elf Princess Rain is also nuts. If you want something that's a little bit crazy but a little bit dirty, there's the Golden Boy is a fun one as well. You can see when I got into anime really deep by my tastes because I'm mentioning all these ones from the 90s. Yeah, but Elf Princess Rain's a good one, and Humanity Has Fallen is insane as well. Did you ever see Gigantor or Speed Racer? Not the animes, actually. I know Corey's a big Dragon Ball Z fan. No, he is not. Not that I have anything against Dragon Ball Z. I just haven't ever actually watched it. The Bride is. The Bride watched Dragon Ball. I have not. I tried to get into anime. I never could. I don't hate anime. It's just not for me. Yeah, no, fair enough. Um, Sorry, backing up here. My favorite anime film ever is Akira, but Ghibli's Nausicaa is a close second. Have you ever read the Nausicaa manga? Because man, the manga is so good. The movie is like an adaptation of like the first one or two books of the manga. Um, the manga is it's hard to actually watch the movie after reading the manga because the manga is so much more complete. It tells a much more complete story and much more involved. Like Nausicaa is such a straightforward, like good guys, bad guys. The manga, no, it makes it way more complicated than that. And it kind of ends on like a a bit of a downer, but in a very Miyazaki esque sense of it's not hopeless downer. So, surprised Nausicaa isn't in there. I just started reading the manga like a lot. Yeah, like I said, Nausicaa. Um, it's not that it's bad. Again, it's just it's again weird. Like the in relation to the movie because I've read the manga. Like I have the manga. Um, the manga is so much larger than the movie is. It makes it hard to go back to the movie again. Um, Also, a fun read if you get the chance is the original Princess Mononoke book. Right, so there was this concept art was made for the original version of Princess Mononoke, and then that art was then used in a storybook, um, following the original outline, and it is so much fun. I actually like that the original version of Princess Mononoke better than the movie, because the original version involves a giant cat that looks like Totoro, which is why they didn't make that version of it because it's too much like Totoro. But um, yeah. Did you ever see the Ozaru in Dragon Ball Z, Cory? It looks a lot like King Kong. I see it pop up on like searches on Bai and stuff. Uh, Goku had an Ozaru form when he was a kid. Also, you said you weren't deep. You said you weren't deep, but we didn't. But didn't we spend a good chunk of this live stream talking about religion? When did I say it wasn't deep? Getting too deep here? I don't know. Maybe just my channel I'm trying not to do too deep. I don't know. Whatever. There was a time when I used to love Kongo 5. I thought it was as great, if even more so than the original. But then I saw the in-depth reviews pointing out the issues, and I can understand still. Yeah, I actually had the misfortune of like I don't care for Peter Jackson as a director. Um, like I hate this, but I'm not a fan of the Lord of the Rings movies. Um, Not because of the story. It's just I don't like Peter Jackson as a director. Um, so then unleashing him on King Kong was like the worst possible thing that could have happened. Um, and it's just everything I don't like about Peter Jackson is even exemplified even more in his version of King Kong. So just sort of all of his like silly direction and slow motion death scenes and comic book poses and all this sort of stuff that I don't like about him. I hate that. I wish I didn't because the bride loves Lord of the Rings. And I like the story. Like we've been going through like the books. The story's great. And I can watch like YouTube videos about the mythology of Lord of the Rings like all day. Um and the bride likes to play the Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor games and stuff, and they're fun. They're fine. I enjoy watching her slaying orcs and stuff. Um, it's just yeah. I wish I liked Lord of the Rings movies more. Um, Sorry, bride. If you ever make me watch them, I'll try not to be a dick about it. So. Can you put a link to your book in the chat? I can do that. Um, Uh, I will give you the link to Amazon Canada, but you should be able to buy it through your own, uh, like, I guess for you guys, it'd be Amazon.com. The um, US Amazon should be able to buy it. Still kind of like the movie for nostalgia, which is fair. And the thing with like, okay, the thing with King Kong, again, it's like I feel bad that I don't like Peter Jackson because I can appreciate where Peter Jackson's coming from. I said this before, where he's coming from as a fan of the movie, a fan of the original King Kong, and him wanting to get into that world and to explore that world more and spend more time in it. I get that. I understand that. I just wish I liked how he did it more. So, what about Gigantopithecus? As I said, Gigantopithecus was basically just a giant orangutan. It was a forest-dwelling orangutan, giant orangutan. They went extinct at the beginning of the Ice Age when climate was changing and forests were disappearing. So it's also the reason why humans evolved as well. Like why this like one like weird offshoot of chimpanzees started walking upright is because the forests were disappearing and grasslands were spreading because the climate was cooling down. There were a couple of Japanese Kong films that were made before the World War II. Sadly, are lost. Yes, they are. Uh, no, it says I think one of them was called King Kong in Hokkaido. No, it was King Kong in Edo. King Kong appears in Edo. That one, yeah, the two that you're thinking of, they're lost films. The King Kong that appears in Edo, there is a big question about whether or not it's about a giant ape. So it takes place in the Edo period, and it's like the shogun has this pet gorilla. And there is like poster art and photos and stuff for this movie where it shows like the gorilla being really big. But set photos show it being just like a dude in a gorilla suit. And the script, what we know about it, doesn't really say either way because like the gorilla abducts the girl and yada yada. I am of the opinion that it's probably not a giant gorilla in this movie. I think it's just this is the transition of the name King Kong, the name Kong, just being applied to gorillas in general, right? Like Donkey Kong, right? Donkey Kong is not a giant ape, right? The other lost movie is I don't remember the name of it. I think it's just like Japanese King Kong. It's like the title of it, and it's actually I wish this is the one I wish existed because it is like this weird meta commentary on the movie. So there's like this poor like out of work actor guy, and he wants to woo. He's wooing this girl, but she's kind of like meh because you're poor, you're an actor, you're unemployed, whatever. Then he sees King Kong, the movie, and then he gets this bright idea to reenact King Kong as a stage play, and then he starts to make money doing this. Everyone loves King Kong, and then in the audience on one of his performances, he sees his girlfriend there with another guy, and so he starts to give chase, still dressed in a gorilla suit, and then it becomes like the slapstick thing. That's the one I wish still existed because I find it fascinating as like a commentary on the popularity of the movie. As opposed to like it's not an attempt to remake it or whatever else. It's a comment. It's a reaction to the popularity of the original film, which I find very interesting. So I wish that one of the two of them. I wish that one still existed. Ico 5 Kong, the original 33 is just better. Yep. Bigfoot overdosed on coke in the 90s, but Sasquatch is alive. I hate him. GD crackhead hippies are the worst. Yeah. Yep. I've actually been to like Sasquatch Provincial Park in British Columbia as well. In class, we watched a 1930s film on Tuesday. Unfortunately, I actually think it's one of the few 30s films that I genuinely hate. Oh, what one was it? Expose. Do you remember the title? It's funny how they could easily copy American films back then. Well, copyright being what it is. Picked up the Akira manga box set about 18 months ago. It's an absolute doorstop of a piece. Haven't started it, lest the cats decide it could be tasty. Where were we? You just love enjoy explaining and running the wonder of mystery of the world. It's True. I mean, yeah, all of my jobs are like explaining things to people. You know, what do you do? I drink and I know things. Um, like career wise, I'm a tour guide, educator. Um, I'm a preacher at my church. Like everything I do is about explaining like, guys, check out this cool thing. That's my life. I don't think anyone today would be talented enough to make a live action Galaxy Express. Well, yeah, I mean, Hollywood. First thing I try and do is make it woke. Yep. Mytel is a sassy black woman, I suppose. That would be so harsh if they showed his mother being hunted and killed. Yes, it would be harsh, but you need that harshness. Bong Joon-ho or maybe Christopher Nolan could work, even though I didn't care for Oppenheimer that much. I hate biopics. They're documentaries for idiots. Yeah, I mean, you could just pick like the best directors around today to do it, right? So Christopher Nolan or Denis Villeneuve. Uh, I almost say Jean-Pierre Jeunet, except I don't think he's a little bit more whimsical than I would want in my 3-9 movie. God, there was another director I was thinking of. Can't remember offhand though. I don't know. Hideaki Anno. Yamazaki. She was hunted like a fox for the amusement of others. Yep. You kids are so too soft, says a teenager. So many characters to explore in anime. My favorite is Sailor Moon. The name of the moon, I shall punish you. Live action Sailor. Isn't there a live action Sailor Moon? I seem to think I remember seeing like a Japanese one. Maybe I just like a stage show or something. Oh, you said you weren't deep when you you first did the sad as the deep happy for deep people. Yeah. Oh, I mean that's just me trying to be humble. And I'm like, oh, I'm like so deep and sophisticated. Yeah, no. I try not to be like that, but have not read Nausicaa yet. It's on my list. You know, when I can afford and find it, haha. But yeah, I'm told the world building is brain melting. Yeah. Yeah, I picked up Nausicaa at the local anime convention. Some dealer was selling the whole set for like a like ridiculously low price, so it was like too cheap not to buy. And that was when I was like at peak being into Ghibli. Um, Now, I mean, like I said, I haven't even seen The Boy and the Heron. I haven't even seen like the last bunch of Ghibli movies, because kind of once um, uh, like Miyazaki retired like the second time, and Takahata died. It was kind of like, yeah, that's it. So like the last Ghibli movies I actually saw were Wind Rises and Princess Kaguya. Still own a copy of Princess Kaguya, in fact. Um, so that was sort of like the end of my Ghibli fandom because Ghibli is like the perfect case study of a studio where you have someone who is such a creative presence, overwhelming presence in the studio that other artists can't flourish. So, you know, Miyazaki, understandably, huge presence, basically was like the company was him. But then because he was so huge, nobody else could come out from underneath that shadow and realize their own creative vision. So Studio Ghibli really needed to like hire like Makoto Shinkai. If they brought in him from the outside with his own creative vision, he could have taken that studio forward. But then Miyazaki's like, well, whatever. Studios don't matter. Studio's just a name. Doesn't matter. Like, ah. It's like, I'm sure everybody that works for Ghibli doesn't feel that way, but whatever. But yeah, I got Nausicaa like at the height of my being into Ghibli stuff. Um, Shortly after I got back from Japan, you know, I went to the Ghibli Museum when I was there. I actually have a collection of Ghibli plushes. They're not out or anything, but I've got like Totoro, all 3 stages of Totoro there. Um, you know, the fox squirrel and the sit sprite and all sorts of stuff sitting in a box in my storage room right now. Um, but yeah, haven't. It's kind of just fallen by the wayside. Um, if we go back to Japan, maybe. Um, see where things are at towards the end of the year. Yeah, I want to go to the Ghibli theme park, the new one, but it's so out of the way. Like you have to. It's like halfway. It's in Nagano, so it's like halfway between Tokyo and Kyoto. In theory, it would be simple enough to just, you take the Shinkansen from Tokyo to there, you get off, you go see the Ghibli park for like a day or whatever, maybe stay overnight, and then go to Kyoto the next day. It's just that it adds time, and especially if you get like the rail pass, time is money in Japan. So it's like I want to go, but can I fit it in? I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. I also have to do the Godzilla theme parks, so Awaji Island, which is hard to get to anyways, and the Saibuen outside Tokyo. Those are like high on the list of things. And then the bride has not been to Japan at all, so she's got to see like the normal stuff, the temples and tourist attractions and stuff like that as well. So, and I want to spend more time in Kyoto as well, because last time I was only in Kyoto for a couple of days, and I want to spend like at least a week there. Would be nice. So, who played Tuxedo Mask? Timothy Chalamet's Tuxedo Mask. I could see that. What's your problem with the 33 original movie? Oh, maybe get a fight going on here. By first two Nausicaa books, do you mean like individual volumes of like 5 chapters, or do you mean the massive hardcover books that are about the size of my dog? So if it's the second, I've got a lot. I'm trying to remember exactly how much is covered. Oh, I know at least because I have the paperback versions of them. It's at least volume 1 is the movie. Might also be volume 2, but it's at least volume 1 is the movie. Would you ever write an overview of the Universal Classics? Like as a video? I think I've done that already. Between my Universal Monsters Are So Great video and the subsequent series of individual ones, and then my What the Universal Monsters Are and Art, I think I've covered a lot of what like an overview of the Universal movies. Not sure what else there would be to say about it specifically. I mean, I'm always open. If you have suggestions, sure. It's been a bit since I've done a Universal Monsters video, so straighten out my coat here. This is my new coat. Finally got a coat for my patches, for my monster patches. Where's it? Vampira pin there. The Ghoul Gang. More patches to come as I get some. Queen, did you ever see their live action Sailor Moon? See, okay, there was a live action Sailor Moon. I thought there was. Did you ever see the short Peter Jackson made of his version of Spider-Man? Yeah, I've seen that. That was on like the DVD and Blu-ray and stuff. It's all right, but it's I mean, it's the best you can do to recreate a film from 33. It's just it also shows like why it's a good thing that scene was cut. I mean, keeping in mind, it's Peter Jackson, so his Spider Pit sequence is probably like twice as long as the original ever was or was going to be. But it's like, yeah, you can see how he's like reveling in doing the stop motion animation in there. And it's like, yeah, that's not what the scene was. And that's probably why the scene was cut, right? It wasn't necessary. And then Jackson's in there, like, making it even longer and reveling in it even more, which, like, again, I get. Like, I appreciate Peter Jackson. Hello, right?
Hello.
Hello.
There was a live action Sailor Moon and I made you watch it.
Did you?
1 or 2 episodes, not the whole thing.
Okay, so I don't know if you heard that. The bride is claiming that I have seen the live action Sailor Moon.
Only 2 episodes.
I totally don't even remember that.
You laughed a little bit about it. I don't think you were paying much attention.
I must not have been
Clearly not.
paying attention to the live action Sailor Moon.
Apparently we need to watch it again.
I guess I just got told I have to watch it again now. Okay, sure. I don't remember that at all. I remember it existing, but I don't remember watching it. Because Sailor Moon was a bit like after my time. Because I was already like a teenager in the 90s. So I was into like other anime than Sailor Moon. But okay, there we go. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, Spider Pit. Right. So Peter Jackson was reveling in doing the stop motion for the Spider Pit and making it this really long thing, which is probably longer than it ever would have been originally. But now that I've seen your full, yeah, thanks. Yes, Rex, I am tall. Was King Kong appears in Ado based on true story? Probably not. Maybe it was a size changing ape. Maybe, I don't know, but it's not really mentioned. Like King Kong appears in Ado, it's never mentioned if it's big or small, like normal size or giant ape or size changing ape. The fact that that's not mentioned would make me think it's a normal sized ape. Any thoughts on the live action space battleship Yamato? I have seen that. It's okay. Didn't like blow me away. But that said, I'm not like the biggest fan of Yamato either. Like every time I try to watch it, I get like about halfway through and then I kind of just peter out and stop watching it. So I don't know. I'm not like a huge Yamato fan. For me, my Matsumoto is 3.9. I just got the manga for my birthday last month. I haven't read it yet. I know there was a live action version. Cool. Remember the title of that horrible film? It was the infamous Triumph of the Will. We were having a class in World War II. Ah, yes. Triumph of the Will. Yeah. I mean, it's a fascinating movie because it's about something so horrible, right? Like it's like Riefenstahl was an amazing director, and it's a beautifully shot film, which makes it even more horrifying that it's a propaganda film for the Nazis. So it's just like, yeah, it's an awkward film because it's very well done. It's just the subject matter is appalling. Of course, obviously, it's horrible. I meant ruining the wonder and mystery of our world. I ruin it? What's going on? I've actually never read the Sailor Moon mangas. I was busy reading Olive Inuyasha. Yeah. What are your thoughts on the abominable snowman? Well, same as Sasquatch. They actually found footprints of live action adaptations of the manga are actually amazing. Did you ever see Star Crash? It's a Star Wars knockoff. I might have seen Star Crash on like Mystery Science Theater 3000. Don't remember offhand. I don't know if I asked you this, but have you ever read or heard about the manga series Dinosaur Sanctuary? I have not heard about that, so I will add that to the list of things to look up. I heard David Hasselhoff was in that one. Okay. Then I'm not sure I've seen it. For Plummer before he won an Oscar. Yeah, I don't think I've seen Star Crash then. Which Sailor Scout would Zendaya play? Who's the redhead? Whoever is the redhead. All redheads get replaced by Zendaya. Thanks also, do you think you'll ever write another book? Well, in theory, I'm working on a second edition of that one because the science has changed in the last 5 years. Especially with like more and more DNA analysis of fossils. It has changed considerably. So I am supposedly working on a second edition, but not very diligently. I had this idea of doing like a series of regional books, like Ice Age in Eastern Canada, Ice Age in Central Canada, that kind of thing. But that's all contingent on my ability to travel, and that has not happened in the last few years. With COVID and then post COVID, and the fact that our lives have never really recovered from COVID. Like we lost our careers. The past like last year, we lost Bride's mom as well. So our life has just been like this permanent state of transition in the last 5 years. So sitting down to write another book isn't really like where I'm at. It's a lot even for me to just do like the videos on the channel. And knowing that while I'm doing that, I should be working on the book. Like I shouldn't be doing videos about Sleepy Beauty. I should be writing my book. So I don't know. the other books that I was working on were my Victorian science fiction anthologies, which nobody buys, so I stopped making them. So why bother putting in the effort? Um, I don't know. I don't know. Right now, I think it's enough to know that I'm working on the second edition of my one book. That might end up being a lifelong project too. Like every 5 to 10 years to be a new edition of it. Um, you could cover the early Universal years. Yeah, Universal Silent Era stuff. Yeah. What about a book about RKO? God, the only book I could write about RKO is just a summary of the last book about RKO. There's already so many books about RKO out there, and documentaries and things. There's nothing more I could add to it. Um, I guess the only difference would be mine would be the most recent one. Sailor Moon is basically more attractive Power Rangers. If only someone could make Sailor Moon for today's audiences. Oh God, no. What if Japanese King Kong changed size in Dream Sequence? Oh, maybe. Have you ever heard of the Birth of a Nation? I have seen Birth of a Nation. Um, also, it's challenging because it's such a historically important film, but it's also about something really appalling. Like it's a glorious heroic history of the KKK, which is like no, 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 stop, no. Um, so yeah, haven't had to watch any Nazi propaganda films for school. Several American ones though. Yeah, we have by D.W. Griffith. Star Crush, a lot of fun. Also, the abominable snowman is different from Sasquatch. He's really religious and into Nirvana and that stuff. Kind of pretentious, but it makes it. Well, fair enough. I mean, he's over in Nepal, right? Did COVID really get started by someone eating a bat? No, I guess we're talking about conspiracy theories earlier. I can't say what mine is because YouTube regulations, but suffice to say, I do not. I'm not confident that COVID was a natural phenomenon. What are your thoughts on Carnosaur, both book and Roger Corman movie adaptation? I actually haven't seen Carnosaur, so Victorian science fiction would be an interesting subject. Yeah, that I check out my blog. Here, let me post that link. I ran a blog. Well, actually, before the blog was a website that I ran from like 1997. And then I switched over to a blog, and then I rebooted the blog, and the reboot lasted like 10 years. And now I just kind of petered out and stopped because like nobody reads it. So whatever. Um, Not that I ran out of stuff I could talk about, but I just kind of, you evolve and you change over time, and what interests you most changes as well, and where you feel like putting your efforts changes. So yeah, but I do have that blog is still up. So if you want to go back and read my stuff on Victorian science fiction, there you go. If you want to buy my anthology books, feel free, be my guest. I'd appreciate it. But um you probably have to pay a lot for photos if you wrote about RKO, probably. Recently in 2016, Birth of a Nation. No. I have met the Moklemembe. He's super nice. Best friends with Mothman. Just another film using the same title. Yeah. Beware of the blog. Yeah, nobody reads blogs anymore. So that's another reason why I stopped. Ran out of time, ran out of interest, ran out of readers, all that sort of stuff. So switched over to doing my YouTube videos, which are basically video essays with static photos. So it's really not that different from blogging, anyways. But couldn't do this on my blog though, so there we go. Hanging out here, and for finally, after the whole evening, I got caught up with the chat. Got to the end of the chat. Woo! Bound to happen eventually. Okay, because we are getting back on track to the chat, and it's pretty late, so I would like to end this. See, expose, we encouraged you last time when we ended this because you wanted to go away. Have you ever taken a deep dive into Edgar Rice Burroughs? On the blog, I know I did do a article on John Carter and on Tarzan. I'm not sure if I redid it when I rebooted the blog, but I have. Not for the YouTube channel though. I haven't talked about burrows on my YouTube channel. Um, if I was going to do that, I would probably frame it like why Tarzan is so great. You know, why the original Tarzan is so great, or why the Disney Tarzan is so great. And for John Carter, why Disney's John Carter was better than you remember, or something like that. I'd couch it in like reviewing the adaptations of it. Um, not so much into doing like literature reviews on my YouTube channel. Did you ever see The Lost Continent? The Lost World ripoff that's mostly mountain climbing in the majority second half. Yes. I have seen The Lost Continent. So let me refresh my memory about that one. (1951). Yes. I have seen it. Not 1951. Don't remember it though. Probably because I just kind of filed it away as a Lost World ripoff. Yeah. I've never met a Mowgli Membly at a Moth-Manted Con though. It was nice. You have such a cool collection back there. Well, thank you. Thank you. They did a Pellucidar attempt a long time ago called out the Earth's core. Yes, they did. Wish I could talk about that too. But yes, Jacob, if you've not seen the collection, this is all Kong on this side, right here. So it's my Kong collection. I actually have a dedicated video to my Kong collection. I've added a few pieces since that video was made, but this is like the big one. It's still got most of it. But yes, it's my Kong collection. It's my main thing there. Random monster stuff up here. Got the shock monster mask there. Got my X-ray glasses underneath him. That's the fly. There's my forgotten prisoner of Castle Mare, Mare, whatever. Serial monsters, yada yada. Vampira's hiding behind the leaves right now. There we go. There she is. 7-inch figures back here, mostly NECA Universal monsters. Also some McFarlane, like Golden Age DC superheroes, like Golden Age Superman, Batman back there. Mars Attacks Martian, Flash Gordon as well. That sort of thing. Down here is my Mezco 5-point XL Godzilla collection right down there. I have all of them because they don't make that anymore. Some Transformers down there. Got some more Transformers up there, actually. My 80 shelf is like up there. Let's see here. Fossils up there. That's usually where the Smilodon skull is hanging out. It's up there. Masterverse here. That's like He-Man right there. He-Man, She-Ra's right in my finger. Transformers over here. Did a video about those. And then I got some more like Godzillas and stuff up there. So that's my shelves as they currently are. That is going to be changing though in the next few months after we move. Did you ever see Land Unknown? I have a copy of it. It was made by Universal. Yes, it was. Yeah, I have it on the Universal Sci-Fi DVD box set. I feel every live stream we do, you get more and more melancholy as it goes on. I am pretty goth, so I'm still deeply goth, even if I'm now dressed like a 1950s retro hot rodder fan, rockabilly fan, boy, whatever. I love the base motel sign. Yes, that is also that's a Spirit Halloween thing, but I actually got that off of somebody on Facebook Marketplace. That's I like Psycho. I'm not like in love with it, but I like it. But I wanted to pick this up because I thought this would be like the best like light display for the backdrop here. So got that, and eventually I'll get like again in the new place. I'll get like other stuff up, like my Godzilla Crossing sign and stuff like that. Like Flash Gordon, yeah. It's Filmation of Flash Gordon there. Is it? Because I think this is supposed to be the original comic version. So that's him. I think that's supposed to be the original comic book version. Like comic slash newspaper strip version of him. At least that's what I thought. That was my impression. And it seemed to bear out when I double checked it. So, anyways, that's him hanging out here. Except the only problem with him is that he is actually he's actually a 6-inch figure, so he looks small compared to everybody else. Tiny little Flash Gordon. The movie is a reverse of 65, since the movie is a carnivorous dinosaur lost continent, just has herbivores despite the post showing T-Rex. What's your favorite fossil, like individual bone or specimen? Mine's Sue the T-Rex and Hannah the Styracosaurus. Ooh, my favorite individual specimen. There is, anyone in my collection, fossils, but there was a couple finds actually in New Brunswick and Nova Scotia of mastodons that had fallen into gypsum sinkholes and basically starved to death in them. And I find those fascinating because there's such a perfect example of how much detailed information we can get from fossil finds. Like if it's getting late, expose wants us to end, so I won't do the whole story. But there, if you look, it's like the Hillsborough mastodon and the East Milford mastodon. Really fascinating, just for like how they studied these things and how they reconstructed like the last days of life of these mastodons and what these sinkholes tell us about their environment, like the pollen in their dung and the beaver chewed sticks and all sorts of stuff like that. I find those like fascinating just for how like what they can tell us and how it shows us how much information we can get about fossil finds. So those are some of my favorites. I don't know. I tend to think a little more higher end than like individual specimens. So, like I think about like the Burgess Shale in general, not like a specific Anomalocaris or something like that. Yeah. Oh, another actually one that's really neat. Look up Kick the Mammoth. It's K-I-K, Kick. Using isotope analysis of his tusks, they were able to reconstruct like his migration patterns while he was alive. So like he was walking around Alaska and like where he was going and like at what year in his life and what like down to like quarterly, like where he was in Alaska. They could track it down looking at isotopes in his tusks. It's so interesting, like seeing his migration patterns. So Kick the Mastodon or Kick the Mammoth is really cool. He's a really cool one. Also a figure of De Laurentiis Flash Gordon. Sue left a really big inheritance. We're still collecting stuff from her estate. What's your opinion on the 80s Flash Gordon movie? Haven't seen it. Also, who'd win in a fight, Buck Rogers or Flash Gordon? Hard to say. Like the Ray Tar Pits, but dirt. Kind of, yeah. The Ray Tar Pits also another great locality as well. Duck Dodgers would win. Those mastodons really came from the hollow earth. Yeah, they were crawling up through the sinkholes, right? Not falling into them. Buck Rogers invented the instant teleportation before Star Trek. Well, Kick the Mammoth is my up and coming hyperfocus. Yeah, Kick is awesome. We attended a lecture by the researcher for Kick a couple months ago, and yeah, it was amazing. Like just watching the video they put together of just his movements across the map was just like blew my freaking mind. Again, it's one of those things that like why I love paleontology so much and geology so much is just what we can reconstruct about the past. Um, you know, we can reconstruct how a saber-toothed cat hunted. We can reconstruct the death of these young male mastodons that fell into these gypsum sinkholes. We can reconstruct the migration patterns of this one mammoth across Alaska. You know, it's just like it's so fascinating to me how much detailed information we can get about the past. And if you're really vividly imaginative, then it's almost like you can see it in your head, you can imagine it. This is one that I use when I do tour guiding, because we go to the Burgess Shale in my tours, and you know, when you pass over the Continental Divide, the Kicking Horse Pass here in Canada, and the mountains there are like the continental shelf 500 million years ago, and then west of that, the mountains are very different. They're like these brown shale mountains, very different profile to those mountains than the limestone and dolostone behind you. And like I tell my guests this, like you look out there and you see these different mountains, and when you know what they represent, it's like you can see it. It's like I'm seeing the mountains, but then I have like this overlay of like the deep ocean basin westward of the continental shelf right there. And then the Burgess Shale is at the edge of the continental shelf, the base of it. So it's what I love with this is when you understand it well enough, it's like you get this overlay, like you can see these ancient glaciers, or you go to the Grand Canyon, you can like see the sand dunes of the Coconino Formation, or whatever. Right? This is why I love this stuff. It's so fascinating to me. Yeah. Anyways, so Buck Rogers also invented the jetpack. Nice. Do you ever read the Scott Pilgrim series? No, but I did like the movie. Oh, Expose is tapping out. Night, Expose. We'll see you next time. Have you ever heard of the Mothman? I have. I'm also familiar with the Mothman's popularity within certain communities of people as well. Yeah. All right. Okay. Now, I know it's kind of late, but what are your thoughts on the unfortunate passing of David Lynch? I mean, he's one of the great modern directors. Maybe not necessarily great in terms of like Spielbergian popularity, but in terms of just like relentlessly following his own creative vision, definitely one of the greats. I mean, my favorite film of his, if you can call it a favorite, is Eraserhead, which is like his first one. It's old school that way. But yeah, it's I mean, he was in like what 70s, 80s, so it's not like he was taken too soon or something like that, right? But oh, the bride has surfaced again. What is this? Ooh, she's brought me water and chocolate. My wife is so good to me. And my mammoth mug as well. Ooh. Yeah, I mean it's sad, it's unfortunate that he passed. It is what it is. Oh, what movie I did see recently that I didn't talk about, speaking of Spielbergian, was Ready Player One. Finally saw that. Finally saw the full movie. It was a movie. It was very kinetic, didn't feel like a Spielberg movie very much. And it was definitely, it felt like old man trying to understand the kids these days. It felt a lot like that Steve Buscemi meme. Hey, fellow kids. But still, lots of cool cameos in it. Not often you're going to see Gundam fighting Mechagodzilla. So, it was fun. I would watch it again. I watched it again. It's just very, very kinetic and very pedestrian plot. But anywho, I did not see the sequel to Gladiator, so that's a pass. That was a pass for me. Again, disingenuous decades later sequel boots. No need to see those. In fact, I haven't even decided if I'm going to bother seeing the new Tron or not, because I didn't really care for Tron Legacy. And it seems like all they're really doing with the Tron movies is just making them extended music videos. So the last one was Daft Punk. This next one's going to be Nine Inch Nails. So, Ridley Scott just doesn't care anymore. Yeah. Ridley Scott is one of those ones that maybe did sell out a little bit too much. Wow. But anywho, cool. 2.5 hours. Might be time to wrap this up now that Expose is gone. Oh no, he's still here. Well, he's still in the participant list, whether or not he's actually present. So, they had sharks in the Roman Coliseum in Gladiator 2. I'm sure they did. I mean, I'm pretty sure. Like, I'm pretty sure I'm having a genuine memory of hearing that they did have like. Actually, he's laughing. That they did have like, they did fill the Colosseum with water to have like war, like ship games, naval games, but not like full size ships, like little itty bitty ones. I think that's a real thing that I heard, but I'm not sure. Either way, you have to make it big and stupid for movies, right? I think the Ready Player One book has the same advantage over the money as the Victorian Gentleman movie copyright. Yeah. Well, I mean, it is pretty. If nothing else, Ready Player One was a monumental effort in licensing. So the sheer number of characters and Easter eggs and stuff in that movie was insane. So it's a testament to Easter egging. One big criticism of Ready Player One is the portrayal of the Iron Giant. Well, I mean, it was just an avatar for H, right? So it is what it is. I've not watched the first Gladiator, but I thought it was good. Barnes Collins. By the pure coolness of the rule of maximum cool. Also battering rams in Roman times. Yeah. But Ready Player One, it did make me seriously consider getting that third party like knockoff Mechagodzilla from Ready Player One. So I already knew this before watching the movie, that the Mechagodzilla design in Ready Player One is my favorite Mechagodzilla design. I also was fond of Kong's appearance in Ready Player One as well. That was a fun appearance of Kong in there. And if I was gonna rank Kongs, I think that version would rank pretty highly as well, like just for how they visualized them and everything. So I like the visuals in it. I like the characters and everything. It's just, the movie itself is like, the moral of the story is go outside and touch some grass once in a while. You kids, you crazy kids these days. Ready Player One is a CGI Roger Rabbit. Just about. Said really Scott doesn't care anymore. Yep. You got me thinking about, is Ready Player One a modern CGI 80s pop culture Roger Rabbit? Is it to 80s and 90s pop culture as Who Framed Roger Rabbit was to 1930s cartoons? The Catapult to Gladiator 2, they weren't really invented at the time. No. Just old-timey stuff, right? It looks old, so put it in there. All right, well, I think I am starting to peter out a bit. So Now we outlasted Expose this time. Okay, oh, here we go. The bride is. They did, in fact, flood the Colosseum and use flat bottom boats to have mock battles. They even made an island for the soldiers to land and fight. However, it would have been too shallow for sharks. Okay. So I did, was not a false memory. Okay. I'm more partial to Kiryu, who was, yeah, Mechagodzilla in the book. Okay. But I think the Ready Player One Mechagodzilla is cool. I wish they had Ultraman. Well, they had Gundam in it, so that was cool. Yeah, I like Kiryu as well. Kiryu's, I think, if I remember my list correctly, Kiryu was my second favorite Mechagodzilla. I think it went, how did it go? It was like Heisei, Showa, Anime, Kiryu, and then Ready Player One, I think. Oh yeah, and then like, I mean, MonsterVerse Mechagodzilla is garbage. So it's like the worst Mechagodzilla design. Mechagodzilla as a city was a better design than the MonsterVerse Mechagodzilla. But yeah, Kiryu would have been cool too. But I, I I enjoy that the Ready Player One Mechagodzilla was inspired by the poster, the Heisei Mechagodzilla poster. That sort of more kind of junky version of Mechagodzilla that wasn't the actual Mechagodzilla in the movie. I like that design. I like sort of Mechagodzilla looking a bit more cobbled together. Like Kiryu kind of has that a bit as well. He's not too sleek. Does still look like it's a human-made mech. But yeah. Anyways, see if I wanted to get like my favorite versions of all the monsters, I'd have to get a Shin Godzilla figure. I would have to get the Ready Player One Mechagodzilla figure, and then I'd have to get like Void Ghidorah somehow. Like I don't know, SH Monster Arts Void Ghidorah is just like 3 necks coming in. The siege towers on a boat, so they would climb from a wall of sea. Why didn't they get giant squid for the? Sure, why not? One of the biggest disagreements I have with you is that anime Mechagodzilla is not better than Showa. Heisei maybe, but definitely not Showa. I can see your argument. The Showa design is pretty classic. I will grant that. I thought Mechagodzilla City was an interesting idea. For reasons that I will eventually get into in a video that I am making. I liked the actual Mechagodzilla design. The one that we never got to see in the anime. Just in the toy. Because it looks so strange and alien. Right? It's just such a weird looking design that I liked it. But I can see where it would be close with the Showa. The Showa's got that nice sort of industrial design to it. But that said, if you're talking about like Showa era robotic doppelgangers, I do like Mechanicon more than I like Showa Mechagodzilla. Mechanicon's got like the really nice and sleek like mid-century design like lines to him. He's like streamlined more so than Showa Mechagodzilla. If you're gonna have huge sharks, why not deep ocean squids? So I struggle to watch ancient beast movies. Yeah, the problem is like trying to watch a historical movie when you know a lot about the era. This is why I can't watch like Ice Age stuff. I mean the Ice Age movies is one thing, but like 10,000 BC like is awful. I have to completely shut my brain off for that one and just try to enjoy it as like ridiculous movie for 11-year-old Cory. But like the Far Cry Primal video game, like I can't play it because I know too much about the Ice Age to enjoy it. Because like they got that wrong, they got that wrong, they got that wrong, they got that wrong. Be no fun. So I'd be terrible to watch a movie about the Ice Age with because I literally wrote a book about it. I'm trying to figure out where they got demonic rabid monkeys from. Jeez, maybe I should see Gladiator 2. Sounds pretty wild. I think Mechagodzilla City was cool, but it doesn't look like Godzilla. I don't see anything wrong with an alien look to Mechagodzilla, but I think you should still keep it Godzilla looking. Well, the thing with Mechagodzilla City is that it's a counterpoint to the planet, right? So Godzilla, over that 20,000 years that the humans were gone, um, the entire planet's ecosystem adapted to Godzilla, right? So all of the plants, all the animals, everything adapted to Godzilla. That is what Mechagodzilla City is doing. Mechagodzilla City is acting like Godzilla, right? Except it's just, instead of a monster at the center, well, I mean, the head is still there, but it's just like this city that is spreading through this nanotechnology ooze stuff, right? So the city is mirroring how Godzilla acts in the anime. It's just a little maybe too subtle for people who not it's not an insult to you. Just a lot of criticism I saw was like, "Oh, I wanted to see like Mechagodzilla and Godzilla fight." Like, okay, but it's just the anime was a lot higher concept than that, which I talk about in an upcoming video. So, that's really far fetched. What the hell happened? Yeah. Did you see Alien Romulus? I found it disappointing myself. I did not see Romulus. The last Alien movie I watched was Prometheus, actually. I don't know. It's just here's the thing. Okay. I like the classical horror. I did go through my phase of liking Alien. I was like, actually, as a teenager, I was like a huge Alien fan. Collected the comics, collected the toys, like all sorts of stuff. That kind of petered out, and then it got replaced by liking classical horror, which is like the antithesis of Alien, right? Because Alien is about sort of cosmic nihilism, right? The universe is just this hostile, empty, meaningless place where human beings are just meat to be preyed upon by a superior predator. That's what Alien's about. Which isn't really how I jive today, how I view things. So the Alien movies don't resonate as strongly with me today as they did when I was a teenager. But I watched Prometheus. Okay, whatever. But then Prometheus and the sequel, for what I understand, for what I've seen of it, like clips and things like that, is that they turn the alien from like just this embodiment of cosmic nihilism and predatory destruction into like this actually genetically engineered like supreme life form, and that takes away the mystique of it. So like, if I'm going to like Alien at all, I want pure Alien as just this hostile life form that humans are lower on the food chain from, as this embodiment of cosmic nihilism, not as like this genetically engineered superorganism. Yeah, so I thought Prometheus was kind of dumb that way. Plus, it was like disingenuous decades later sequel boot problem and all that. Did not see Romulus because it's like, do we need more? But that's also the thing with Aliens is like, do we need more of the same? After Alien and Aliens, what really more is there to say? And this is coming from somebody who read all the comics and stuff too. Like, I like the old Dark Horse Aliens comics. I read all of those, from like the first ones up to like Colonial Marines, like the 12-issue series. Yeah, like it's just, there's only really so much you need to say with Aliens. So why does Romulus exist? Because they felt like they needed to make another Aliens movie to keep the franchise going, I guess. I don't know. Have I watched Primal? No, I still haven't seen Primal. When have they ever made a good sequel to Alien besides Aliens? Yeah. I didn't mind Alien Cubed, but it's not like a great movie. There's only 2 Alien films. There's also only 2 Terminator films, yeah. If you want a really good modern ancient depiction of a movie, believe it or not, Gods of Egypt, yeah. I kept squeeing over the actual Egyptian references. Monster Kid kept looking at me like I was crazy. I did not look at you like you were crazy. I admired that you enjoyed all of the references in Gods of Egypt and how it visualized all of those things. There's only one Star Wars trilogy, correct. Yes. And it never got upgraded with CGI. If you're going to go way out when it comes to historical accuracy, have fun with getting Tarkovsky Primal. Yeah. Yeah, well, you see, as if it's just nutso, like Primal is, then fine. That's fine. That's cool. I can get into like cavemen and dinosaurs and stuff, something silly like that. It's just if you're trying to be accurate and you're not, then that's where it's like, no, I can't do it. So, um, yeah, Prometheus was hilarious. Yeah, they'd see some weird creature, the first thing to do is would touch it. Yeah, God. Yeah, their protocols for how to encounter extraterrestrial life were like, no. Like just common sense would dictate don't take off your helmet. You don't know what pathogens are on this planet. Oh, look, some weird kind of tapeworm leech looking snake thing just emerged out of this pool. I'm gonna try and touch it. Like, no. Terminator Zero anime is pretty good. I haven't seen that. I think Mechagodzilla City works story wise, but I think the design doesn't work as robotic Godzilla. Also, you don't have to worry about the subtlety thing insulting me. I have to admit, I am not great at subtlety. It's all right. The thing with the anime that I will grant is that it's a lot more about the ideas in it than it is about the story in it. Um, so if someone is like they just want like engaging characters and big monster brawls, the anime is not for them. The anime is about the philosophical ideas that the monsters and the different species of people represent. Um, Again, I will explain that in a video that is going to be coming up eventually. They were like dumb teenagers in a horror film in Prometheus. Yes, they were. That's the problem is like, you have um, a genius character can only be as smart as the writer that writes them. And if you have dumb writers who have no life experience, then you have dumb characters. Oh, this is such a genius. Yeah, they couldn't figure out to run to the side from the ship that's rolling after them. Like, they couldn't figure out maybe not to take off their helmet in a hostile environment they don't know anything about, full of alien organisms. They don't know what's going to do to a human body. Don't touch the weird, creepy leech snake thing. Like, it's just, yeah. And, like, there's a certain amount of stupidity you need to progress the story. Because, like, if they actually, like I said this with Jurassic World, if Jurassic World actually followed animal care protocols used in actual zoos in the real world today, Jurassic World never would have happened. Like, the dinosaurs would all be contained, everything would be fine. So you need a certain amount of stupidity to have the story. Which, I mean, a good writer can get around that and explain the story in a smart way. But at least even a middling writer, okay, they need the characters to do one stupid thing for the story to happen. But then you get like these just inexorably dumb writers who write what they think are genius characters who just only ever do dumb things. It's just like, oh my god. To me, that's an annoyance right up there with when I figure out the mystery in a movie before the characters do. Because it's like, a good mystery story, like a mystery thriller, will give you all the clues you need to figure it out, but you might not necessarily figure it out before the characters do, right? You kind of like sit there like, okay, it might be this, let's see where this goes. But then you get like, oh, we got some great like Easter egg mystery thing, and it's like, no, I figured that out like 3 hours ago. Like, I stopped, like, speaking of Ice Age stuff, like I stopped watching that La Brea TV show when I figured out what happened before the characters did. Like, yeah, you went back in time. You're fighting Ice Age animals. What the hell do you think happened? Like, you fall into this hole and through some weird space warp, and now you're fighting like saber-toothed cats. What the hell do you think happened? Ugh. They're all like, I don't understand. What's going on? Okay. Sure, brainiacs. So, yeah, no. Anyways, it's like stupid characters and TV shows annoy me because I deal with stupid people in real life. That's annoying enough. Primo doesn't try to be accurate. Yeah, it tries to be awesome. Yeah. It makes me question my physique and gender as a dinosaur. Why does Mechagodzilla look like a Dinobot in the Monsterverse? That is an insult to the Dinobots. Right there. He would be an improvement if he looked like Grimlock. Prometheus full of plot holes? Correct. That's because they kept having to revise it. My understanding is that the story originally was going to be a direct prequel to Aliens, an Alien, but explaining like how the ship got to LV-426. But they kept messing it up and being stupid, and putting in mystery boxes and all that sort of dumb shit. How the dumb teenagers were in Romulus? Probably. Why do people get going back to Jurassic Park if everyone just gets eaten there? Yeah. Well, like the stupid thing, like Jurassic World could have been all right if it focused on like the functioning of the theme park itself. You know, like you could have the escaped dinosaur. And even like I actually thought like the whole idea of like genetically engineering the Indominus Rex was actually kind of like an interesting plot line, because it's sort of like acknowledging um, the spectacle of the dinosaurs and how people would react to that and eventually get bored of it, and also kind of lampshading like how dinosaurs were presented in Jurassic Park and all that sort of stuff. And I enjoyed stuff like how they're like the Raptor Pass at Jurassic World, which is just like, you know, the My Magic Plus stuff from Disney or whatever. You could have the dinosaur escape. You could have the genetically engineered dinosaur. You could have them escape and stuff like that. But then the story's about how to contain it before it gets to like the public. But it's like no, they introduce these ideas and then like immediately chaos happens. And the entire park goes to shit. And it's just like now and then we're just back at Jurassic Park again, right? And you're on this island and there's dinosaurs loose and all sort of stuff. And it's just like we've seen that. That's Jurassic Park. Them trying to run the theme park would be the more interesting story. But then they got rid of that, and then Jurassic World 2 was complete inexorable garbage. So whatever. If you could see a xenomorph version of any animal or monster, what would you see? Personally, I choose a graboid or an elephant. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess we kind of got our wish with like the Xenozilla, Godzilla xenomorph that one Mexican Safubi manufacturer made, along with the Predacon. So that's kind of like a dinosaur alien, I guess. That would be kind of like what I'd want to see, I suppose. Races are completely worthless. They're even using AI to replace them. Yeah, well, I mean, that's why, like, that's another thing to say about AI, right? AI is a tool. The problem with AI is not that it can produce quality material on par with actual human genius, right? You're not going to get an AI that's producing art on par with an actual genius artist or an actual genius writer. But you can make AI that is on par with a modern artist or a modern writer. Like, I did a whole video there about, like, I got ChatGPT to write me the outline for a Kong versus Mothra movie that was as good as a modern writer would have made. And that's the problem, is not that AI is good, it's that human writers and artists are bad now. That's the problem. A good writer, a good artist, has nothing to worry about from AI. I will never write a mystery where the draw is the mystery. Maybe something like a Clue where it's comedy. Why wasn't Mecha King Ghidorah in Godzilla vs. Kong? Well, I mean, in a sense, Mecha Godzilla was Mecha King Ghidorah. So, there's that. I guess. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. See, Godzilla vs. Kong is not... I think it's one of the worst MonsterVerse movies. And part of that is that there's so many possibilities and plot lines that they were set up for in King of the Monsters, which I think is the best MonsterVerse movie. They set up all these plot lines and potentials for the sequel that were just completely dropped to give us a movie that itself was not very good and which encouraged the fan base to be stupid. The whole Team Godzilla versus Team Kong was dumb. I hated it. That's why I like Godzilla X Kong a lot better, because it got rid of all of that stupid versus nonsense, and it was just a fun, balls to the wall, crazy adventure. It's like very dumb movie, but also a very enjoyable movie. Yeah, it's just there's so much that Godzilla versus Kong fumbled, and a more interesting. Well, what could they do with the Ghidorah head that was in the post credits of King of the Monsters? They could have regenerated a Ghidorah. They could have made a new monster. They kind of did with Mechagodzilla. I mean, that's close to kind of like what you could do with like a Mecha Ghidorah. Um, but it needed more development, I think. Really, what I would have liked was if they had done what the credits of King of the Monsters were setting up, where all of the monsters start going to Skull Island, and Kong has to sequentially fight off one after another, trying to protect his island and the iwi and stuff like that from these monsters that are attacking. And then, as he's getting progressively, he's leveling up, but also getting worn down, right? As more and more monsters attack. And then, it ends with the cliffhanger of Godzilla showing up. Boom, and then we go to Godzilla versus Kong. That would have been a more satisfying movie to me, I think. Plus, we missed out on like some good potential fights. Like we never did get Kong versus Rodan, which would have been an interesting battle. But yeah, well, I don't know. We got what we got. So, Alien Isolation video game I heard was pretty good. Yeah, I've heard that too. Would you, as a non-dinosaur, not pass out on the chance to see non-avian dinosaurs outside of weirdly focused live streams? He was already in King of the Monsters, Barnabas. They just wanted to switch villains. I love dinosaurs of every kind. Couldn't pick a favorite. What's your opinion on the Ice Age movies, the squirrel cartoon? I mean, I have a friend who forced me to watch them all. The only genuine laugh that I had during the whole series was, I think it's the third one, where they go to they find where all the dinosaurs are, and Scrat finds that female saber-tooth squirrel, and the acorn is like bobbing along, and it's all sad that Scrat has abandoned it. That was the only time I genuinely laughed through the entire Ice Age series. I just didn't think, I don't know, they just didn't do it for me. I just didn't think they were very good. What's your thoughts on the unfortunate passing of Gene Hackman? I mean, unfortunate. Yeah, we talked about that at the beginning a bit. I mean, it's sad to have your life end so abruptly like that. And I guess we'll find out what happened. Part of me hopes that it was like something like carbon monoxide poisoning or something like that. If it was actual foul play, that was like, what? Why? It'd be baffling. But. Xenosaurus Rex in Jurassic World Rebirth trailer. God, I tapped out of Jurassic World after the second movie. I did not see the third one. I didn't see Dominion. I did see that stupid battle of the whatever short there where it's like guns don't exist, so she has to use a crossbow. I find Jurassic World actually insulting to my intelligence. Like it's asking you to forget stuff from the last movie. It's Owen and Blue have such a connection. Blue tried to kill Owen repeatedly in the last movie. Just like dinosaurs. Oh, they're running amok. What do we do? I don't know. Shoot them? Like, do guns not exist in Jurassic World? Like, it's so insulting. Oh, we created this dinosaur that attacks people when you point a laser pointer at them. It's like, the laser pointer is mounted to a gun. Just use the gun, for the love of God. Like, we don't train tigers to go in the battlefield. Like, geez, Louise. Just friggin', oh my God. Yeah, they're so dumb. They're such dumb movies. As a writer, I'm afraid of AI because I don't want Hollywood to replace me before I even get my degree. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Don't worry. I think the subtext to like the writer's strike was that the writers want to use AI. They don't want the studios using AI. The writers want to use AI as a tool to help them come up with ideas. They don't want the studios replacing the writers with AI. That seemed to be some of the subtext. Unforgiven, yeah, Gene Hackman, yeah. I mean, well, Gene Hackman, of course, Young Frankenstein, right? For the supposed theme of my channel, that would be the one that he's most sort of overlaps with what I do, what I watch. Yeah, Mechagodzilla had the brain of Ghidorah. Yeah. I think you're right, Cory. Thank you. I'm always right. But thanks for the affirmation. Walking to the theater and expecting Drek can make for 2 hours of very enjoyable mind candy. Yeah, that's how I approached Godzilla X Kong. I was not expecting a good movie. I didn't like Godzilla vs. Kong. I almost was not going to see Godzilla X Kong because I reacted so strongly against Godzilla vs. Kong. If you go back in my videos, you will hear me talking about how like I'm over the MonsterVerse, I'm done with the MonsterVerse, MonsterVerse is crap, here's how I'd fix the MonsterVerse, all that sort of stuff. I wasn't even going to see Godzilla X Kong. And then, the trailers, the commercials, the hype, I bought into it. And I'm glad I did, actually, because I enjoyed myself. I went in expecting nothing, hoping for nothing, and I got this insane, like, balls to the wall nuts adventure. And I do like balls to the wall nuts. Phantom Empire is my favorite balls to the wall. Plan 9 is balls to the wall, and Godzilla X Kong is balls to the wall. Terrible movie. It's not a good movie, but it is a lot of fun. It's a lot of very fun movie. So, don't expect anything from it. Do I think Mothra should get a solo film? Not the MonsterVerse version. What I do think is that the next movie, I know they've already got the next movie is going to be another crossover, but I really think the next movie should have been like a solo Godzilla movie on the surface where he teams up with Rodan, and a separate solo Kong movie where he teams up with Mothra in the Hollow Earth. Like, just split them off again, have separate movies, and introduce new bad guys and whatever else in them. Oh, Martin is going. All right, so good night, Martin. Yeah, we'll wrap this up soon anyway. So we've been going for 3 hours now. Good lord. Do you think they'll ever bring in Minya? I think they will bring in a junior Godzilla at some point. That is sort of Godzilla's destiny, is there always got to be a mini Godzilla. I like to see them use the skull from Ghidorah after GVK as a power force for Jet Jaguar and give him a redemption arc where he learns to smile, isn't forced into his head shape. Sure. I want them to make a movie where Manila attacks Manila. Martin's leaving. Bye, Martin. Dinosaurs are more bulletproof than you might think. There's footage of my grandpa surviving a shot from an elephant gun. Nice. Nothing wrong with watching a movie, that's just fun. Yep. All right. Well, with Martin leaving now, Expose is already passed on to the other world. My base motel sign is losing battery power. So, you know what that means. It is time for some previews. So here we go. This is the next one. I'm working on this right now. I haven't really recorded it yet, but I got the script read up, done up, and everything. So this one's gonna be my next one I'm working on here. Godzilla's Reiwa era, depending on opinions. But even the anime, so the anime trilogy, Singular Point, -1, of course, Shin Gojira, all that. Gonna be doing a video on that. Why that is so great. And then, of course, the next live stream will be when it is, towards the end of the month. And going to be, as I mentioned, my plan is to do a video on Snow White as well, why the original Snow White is so great. There's a plan to do that. Hopefully I actually do get to it. Why don't they do an update to destroy all monsters? Isn't that basically what King of the Monsters was? I thought you didn't like Rodan. I do. Rodan is fine. I generally don't have feelings about Rodan either way. But King of the Monsters Rodan is great. Actually, I like MonsterVerse Rodan. It's a great design for Rodan, and King of the Monsters has the best Rodan scene in like any movie, even if large parts of it were borrowed from the Giant Claw. The MonsterVerse Rodan is fine. In fact, if I could get like a cheap like Haya Rodan toy, I might get him actually. But take the Space Invaders. I tapped out after King of the Monsters. Was that great Boston Throwdown? God, it sucked. Fair enough. I actually liked King of the Monsters. I thought it was the best MonsterVerse movie. and certainly wasn't any worse than a lot of Showa movies. So, bring out the Kill Axe. I think in Destroy All Monsters, the Kill Axe actually should have been the Zillions. But... Love Godzilla -1, hated Shin Godzilla. Oh, well, okay. Maybe I can turn you around with my video. Yes, we did get a bit of foreshadowing explaining the anime. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. Night, Doug. See ya, and yeah, I guess that's that. We're gonna tap out here for the night after three and a quarter hours. Thanks once again, everyone, and we'll see you again next month.
And now, folks, it's time to say goodnight. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon. Good night.